Hello friends and bees and friends who are also bees, and welcome to this week's Indie Thursday stream. This week we are going to be continuing our playthrough of Higurashi When They Cry, Tsumihoroboshi. When we left off last week, we had all gathered together as a group to help Reina bury some bodies. And this week we're gonna see what's going on. No worries, Lynn. TLDR, to try and summarise it, part of this bit of the game is told from Cage's perspective, the other part is told from Reina's perspective. Reina's parents have divorced, and she and her dad moved back to Hinamizawa, where her dad started seeing a woman. Reina doesn't like this woman, and then she discovers that the woman and her actual boyfriend are planning to con her dad out of a bunch of money, and Reina sort of takes the advantage and kills the woman, and then later kills her boyfriend. And then the rest of the gang come across Reina getting ready to bury their bodies, and so we all went and helped her. It is, right? Like, you just think there is no way you can't feel close to people after doing that sort of thing. And this week, time to see what happens next, I guess. Let's hop over to the GP. There we go. I hope the sound's alright. Let me know if it is too loud or too quiet. The next achievement is called Icky Things. I am not excited. Let's get going. Pretty certain I read this. Yes, I did. The letter from the forestry office was basically saying they're going to be digging up trees in the mountains where we buried the bodies. Hello, Eris. How are you? I hope you're doing well. My arm is really itchy. I need to poke that later. I hope you're having a good day. You too, then. Just a fair warning, I may be kind of low energy today. As always, I am absolutely exhausted. She believed that if she kept laughing, she would be happy. She believed that if she cared about someone, that person would care for her as well. Leaving the sad memories behind, the girl turned forward to face tomorrow. Without being spoiled, without relying on anyone, all alone to carve a path towards the future. What awaits her? Is it happiness? Is it unhappiness? Tsumihoroboshi. I don't actually know. I wanted to love someone, but the truth is, I wanted to be loved. Okay, Eris. Just bear in mind, this game can get pretty vile sometimes, so be careful. Welcome. Would you like a hot dog? Also, I'm sorry that you haven't had a good day. I shall try and have a nice chill day today, as I'm sure inevitably horrible things will happen, but we'll see. Would you like a hot dog? Our shaved ice is the best you've ever tasted. You can have it with strawberry syrup, melon syrup, or Hawaiian blue syrup. I love that Hawaiian blue as a flavour. Try our takoyaki roulette. The winner's packed with a ton of mustard. There are great many booths at this year's Higurashi festival. Anything can become a festival if there are vendors selling food and music for bond dancers, I thought. It's still June, but it had been extremely hot the past few days, almost as if it's already summer. When you have a June festival with bond dance music under this kind of weather, the only thing that's missing to make it perfect for a summer festival is fireworks. It reminds me, I need to do the FC garden, get it ready for the rising. This is Kumagai. Mr. Oishi, can you hear me? Over. I heard a voice coming from my portable radio. Ah, we're Oishi today. With this earphone, it looks a little like I'm secretly listening to horse races while on duty. This is Oishi. I can hear you loud and clear. The town councillors gave us a lot of food. We have odon, yakisoba, pork belly, stew, and some barley tea. Haha. Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry. That sounds horrible, Eris. Oh, I'm sorry to hear it. I'm sorry to hear that. Downstairs smoking. Ugh. Don't mind the smell of cigarette smoking until it comes into my apartment, and then I'm like, please don't. Yeah. Sorry, I'm like scooching away from my mic a second. We can hang out, and potentially awful things could happen. I'm gonna do that. I really don't mind the smell of cigarette smoke if I'm outside. It's when I'm in my flat and downstairs smokes and then the smell comes into my apartment, then it gets to me. There was something going on at work today and there was this really sharp smell of acrid smoke in the afternoon, and I was helping a colleague down on reception and it got a really bad headache from it, so I'm already in like I'm fed up at bad smell zone, so. Do you mean the barley tea you can drink on duty or the one we can't drink on duty? Well, if it's a can drink, I'll take it. If it's in a cup, don't worry about it. Roger that. And all the members of the town council are here to say hi. We have the mayor and the head of the Samazaki family too. What, that old bag Oreo was there? Can you tell her I'm patrolling right now and don't know when I'll be back? Well, I don't think I can do that for you, sir. She knows you have a portable radio, so she told me to call you and to bring you back here. She looks really mad. I'm sure it'll be a stroke that kills her. Roger that. Tell her with extreme courtesy that I'll be back soon. Please. Oh well, I guess I'll have to go back and mingle with the locals. All of a sudden, a group of kids came running towards me from behind. After a quick look at them, I noticed that it was they were the granddaughter of the old bag and her friends. They occupied a corner of the shooting gallery stool, making a lot of noise. Mion Sanozaki. When acting her age, she's a cute, normal girl, but do I ever hate it when she acts like a member of the Sanozaki family? She'll be the boss of the Okonomiya Yakuza territory in 10 or 20 years, just you wait and see. And while I was thinking things like that, I noticed that Mion wasn't the one taking leadership of her group this time. It was the boy. That boy. I know him. He just moved here recently. The boy from the Maebara mansion. Keiichi Maebara, was it? Every time I see Keiichi, I have to do a double take because that outfit is exactly something I would wear. I would, in the middle of summer, wear a black tank top with a red tank top over it just to prove that I'm cool and own more than, like, one pair of clothing. I heard that the Maebara family's from the city and they're supposedly very rich too. But he doesn't flaunt his family's wealth and he has a good reputation because of that. It's because he doesn't realise his family are rich. And his parents seem pretty down to earth. Even though he just moved here, he's already adjusted to his new school and he's popular with his classmates too. Everyone in the village seems to like him as well. He's interesting to watch as a person of many moods. Boys of his age sure have a lot of energy. To be young again. Hey, you're up next, Reina. You're lucky it's your turn. Reina, you okay? You feeling sick? I'm sorry. I guess I have to pass on taking a shot. Okay, you should take a break for a bit. So, that would make it my turn, no? Victory shall be mine. Trying to remember all the different voices that I do. It looked like only 4 of them were having a good time. The girl called Reina seemed outside of that circle of smiles. Her name is Reina Ryugu. What was her real name? I couldn't remember, but I can check when I get back to the station. Reina is only a nickname. I believe she moved here a year before Maebara did. Her mother divorced her father or something like that. She's a strong girl who does all the housework by herself. She's a very modest girl, I'm told, which is rare in this era. Unlike Maebara, it seems like she hadn't really opened up to her friends just yet. They'd look like a group of 5, but there's a distance between her and the others. It's a little sad, you know? Maebara has become a part of the village, but Reina is still by herself. Well, that's just how it looks to me. Was Mr. Oishi, the chief and the section manager here? Please come back as soon as possible. Roger that. I can't believe the chief came all the way here just to say hi to the locals. I guess he's very dedicated to community service, eh? This is Takasugi. Mr. Oishi, can you hear me? Do you copy? Over? Yes, I hear you. I'm on my way back right now. I'll be there in a minute. Gonna struggle to differentiate between the voices of all these dudes. If I don't hurry up, even the chief might end up calling me. I ran back to the HQ tent. I don't know how I feel about these, like, transition scenes. It's like an attempt at a cutscene with flat screens. And I guess the idea is to be like, how do I put this? He is. Keiichi's kind of a dumbass, but he's don't get too attached to him, Eris. He's a good guy as well, to be honest. He is the one who breaks into the Forbidden Storehouse so that his girlfriend and some random kids. Yeah, it's a new thing that has happened, like especially in the last 2 games. And it kind of, I don't know, I understand what they're trying to do with it, but I prefer the, like, fade to the next scene. I understand the point is to be like, it's like a visual reference, so it's like, hey, that stuff that you remember happening in previous games, that happens here too. And it makes sense, I understand why they do it. I just... Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the way that I used to make AMVs, and I understand why they do it. It's just that, for me personally, it throws me back to, like, 12 years ago. Eris is too sleepy and out of it to notice hugs, which is clearly not correct. Mr. Orishi, Dr. Irie is here. Oh, thank you so much for coming. So what do you think, Dr. Irie? Orishi entered the cordoned-off area. In there, people from forensics were taking pictures of the corpse from various angles. Irie was squatting down next to the dead body of Chihiro Tomitake. When he stood up, he looked pale. I can't believe it. I know, I can't believe it either. As far as I can see, he clawed out his own throat with his bare hands. This isn't a normal way to go. Most likely it was the cause of some drug or something. You're saying he was a drug addict? Who knows? I guess it's going to be my job to find that out. Mr. Orishi, what's with this 2x4? Maybe he was swinging it around? Then he threw it away and had more fun clawing at his throat, I guess. There's a moth in my room and it keeps making me nervous. Why was he swinging a piece of lumber around? He probably did it in self-defense. Did you notice there are several external injuries on his body? Yes, I can see some bruises. The easiest explanation I can think of is that he was attacked by someone on his way home to Okonomiya from the festival. He was seized by the culprit, given a shot of some kind of dangerous drug, went crazy and died. Never heard of any drug that can make people claw out their own throats. I have! I'm not a specialist, but many drug addicts injure themselves when they're in a terminal condition. Well, I'm sure the old man in forensics will take care of the investigation. Excuse me, Mr. Orishi. We found a bicycle believed to belong to Chihiro Tomitake about 100 meters away from here. Oh, that's great. Thanks for the find. Any other clues? My deep voice is so terrible and I'm sorry. Not yet. They're investigating it right now. So that means the place where the bicycle was found is most likely the place he was attacked. And then he ran away from the suspect and ended up here. Oishi frowned, crossing his arms in front of his chest. Irie was looking at the miserable corpse of Tomitake and he kept saying the same thing over and over. It's impossible. It's just impossible. Doctor, it happened, so it was possible, okay? Try to think flexibly. Although I get that you don't really see something like this every day, despite being a doctor. Anyway, thanks for your cooperation. You can go home now. We called you here for emergency medical care, but it looks like it was a waste of a trip. Sorry. Oichi stuck his head out of the blue tent and asks, can anyone give him a ride home? Irie gasped all of a sudden as he turned to Oishi. What about Mr. Kano? What happened to Mr. Kano? What? Oh, your nurse? I think she was with him. Is she okay? Do you know her phone number? Of course. Kuma, get her phone number from Dr. Irie. Make someone at the station call her house. Understood. Doctor, can I have the number? Yes, here it is. Kumagai got the phone number from Irie, repeated it back and then dashed away from the blue tarps. Doctor, Mr. Kano and Mr. Tomitake were close friends, right? Close friends. Yes. Have you heard about any troubles between them? No, not even once. They were very close. Well, I hope she's okay. In the worst case, she could be dead, or she could be the culprit. I see. Nurses have access to dangerous drugs. Wink. That wink with Lynn may make more sense to you. Unfortunately, I have accidentally spoiled myself. Not for the details, but for the whatness. So, wink. Although, also, as we know from the previous one, Rika definitely has access, so. BG Delbslid, I meant to, mention this to you, and then in the space of the last week, I completely forgot. Last time around, there was dialogue that really very clearly hinted that Rika has, like, been conscious throughout all of the happenings, because there's a quote from her, we presume it's from her, that's like, maybe the 6 times the charm or something, which this is the 6th time. It's just that we didn't see the fifth one. We were sort of away while the fifth one happened. So, intriguing but also horrifying. It definitely reminds me of a lot of the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. the Haruhi series that was the one about the time loop, where it was just Yuki who knew what was happening. Makes me think of that, except Yuki's was way worse. Nurses have access to dangerous drugs. We don't have anything like that in my clinic. Even if we did, we'd be extra careful with them. There's no way Mr. Connor could smuggle out a drug from my clinic. But it's easier for nurses to do it than for regular people, right? Like I said, I've never heard of a drug like that. I don't have anything like that in my clinic. Mr. Oishi, she isn't at home. The standby unit says they're going to go to her house to check. Doctor, can you give me her address? Kuma, can you also check if the police headquarters has found any unidentified female bodies tonight? Maybe you should check the other prefectures too. Tell the section manager if you can call the HQ in the nearby prefectures and ask if they have any unidentified female bodies. Yes, sir. Are you saying that Mr. Kano might also be dead? Well, I don't know. I don't know if she's dead or if she's the culprit. Of course it's possible she's not involved at all. She might just be getting drunk in a bar somewhere. My ideal life. It's unbelievable. Who does things like this? Well, it's unbelievable to me too. This fits with the rest of the mysterious deaths in Hinamazawa. It's been 5 years now. That would make this the 5th curse of Oyashiro Summer. Damn it, I've got to get whoever's behind it this year for sure. Really want to put an end to these cases before I retire. Oishi hates the curse of Oyashiro Summer. It had been leading him around by the nose for 5 consecutive years. The victim of the first year, the manager of the dam construction site, was his friend. Despite his desire to avenge his friend, the mystery had only deepened, and one case followed another year after year. Oishi would be retiring next March. As a retiree, he'd be able to ask about the progress of the investigation, but he wouldn't be able to take the initiative anymore. In other words, this year was his last chance for revenge. Would he have to put his head in the lion's mouth to capture the culprit? Oishi quietly clenched his fist. I believe that this maze has an exit. Maze is a very convenient word. A maze always has an exit. You don't call it a maze if it doesn't have one. I know I'm on the right path towards the exit of this maze. I used to miss these minor divergences, but now I don't miss anything. I don't make any mistakes. This time I could feel a response that was different than all the other times. I'm sure I can finally get to the exit of this maze. But no matter which path I choose to come to this point, Jiro Tomitake always dies. I think this is Rika speaking, probably. You sort of have to wonder what went wrong that first time around. I understand why they're doing these transitions, it's just not how I would have done it, let me put it that way. Rin had been sick ever since that day, and she hadn't been able to join in on club activities as often since. Yeah, I still feel feverish. You do, huh? That's a pity. Hey, Reina, why don't you just try and play with us today? I think you'd feel a lot better if you blow some steam with us. You got this old man's agreement. Do you think so? Do you? Sometimes resting too much is bad for you. They're quite correct. All illness comes from the mind, don't you know? Everybody suspected for a while that Reina isn't really sick, at least physically. It's just that many things happen to her at once. She caught a mental cold. That's what I'm calling it next time. Caught a mental cold. Speaking of calling it things, guess who's having a pain flare-up? Love to be unable to eat food. That's why I thought she'd get better once she played with us, just like we used to. It seemed like Reina was aware of that too. She knew that she had to get out of her state of depression soon. She wanted to get better and she wanted to have fun again every day. Okay, I'll do it. I'm sitting down, so if it gets really bad, I'll go grab some painkillers. If not, I'll eat some and then fall asleep. That usually does the job. Great, that's the spirit. Considering the fact that Rain is still recovering from her illness, let's play a tabletop game today. Let me see. Ming started rummaging through her locker, humming to herself. She took one game after another from the locker and put them aside. That locker definitely didn't obey the laws of physics. The amount of games she took out from the locker was more than what it could physically hold. Every time I see the word physically, my brain interprets it as psychically because I'm stupid. Oh, we forgot about this one. Let's try this. Today we'll be playing this detective game. Oh, what's that? Sounds interesting. Well, this is a game where you guess the culprit, the murder weapon, and the scene of the crime. It's a game where you use your brain. You'll pick it up as you play. All you need to do is note down the information you have. Ho ho ho! In other words, you need to learn the trick of note-taking. This is a game for intelligent people like myself. The rules don't seem that difficult. In short, it's a game where you sound out the cards each player holds in order to try and reason the identity of the cards first drawn out the deck. There are plenty of games in different formats where you try and identify something hidden in the least number of steps. This one just happens to be a competitive one of those. The key to winning this game would be how well you can organise your information. We usually like to play athletic games so we can run around a lot, but in our club you have to excel both academically and athletically. Alright. Sometimes I get halfway through a sentence, and then I'm like, why do I say things like that? Anyway. Drifter voice. Alright. This is gonna be great. Let's play. Reina, do you remember how we still haven't decided the winner of the water gun battle? I'm gonna settle it today, once and for all. Oh, are you? Then I'm not going to go easy on you. If Reina's getting serious, I'll have to get serious too. Yes, indeed. Since that water gun battle, I've re-evaluated Keiichi and Reina. I'm gonna be merciless today. Haha, this is getting exciting. This old man's been waiting for everyone to get this fired up. Excellent. Let's do this. You ready? I did it with a knife in the library. Okay. My turn. Keiichi did it with a poison in the hall. My turn. Mion did it with a pistol in the lounge. Heh, you're holding the pistol, aren't you? You're bluffing. I think I know the suspect and the murder weapon. I've narrowed the scene of the crime down to 2. Oh, you're good, Rika. I've narrowed the suspect down to 2, but it's hard to pin down which one it is. I'll give you a tip. There's always a hint in the questions the other players ask you. If you figure it out, you can even solve the whole mystery by the order of cards the others put down on the table. Damn it, I underestimated the depth of this game. Sorry if we freeze up a bit. I don't know what's happening anymore. Oh no, my notes are such a mess. Can't even read my own handwriting. Me too, buddy. Once you acquire the skill of note-taking, you'll have a 70% chance to win this game. But even a 70% chance won't be enough to defeat me. Kind of knew I didn't stand a chance of winning this game, but I gradually started picking it up. Reina seemed to be getting her energy back as she played along. It was the right decision to force her to play with us today. While we were in the middle of the game, Miss Chie came into the classroom. Hi, you look like you're having fun. Anyway, is Ryugu here? How? You have a visitor. Everybody looked puzzled. Parents sometimes showed up at school for some reason, but Miss Chie never called them visitors. It's right to have a visitor at school. I wonder who it is. Well, I have to go. You can continue without me. Reina left the classroom at a run. What should we do? Should we wait for her? We don't know how long it's going to take. Reina told us we could continue, so let's do that. Yeah. Around the entrance, the glaring sun and the cool shade made for a clear contrast. So Reina's the one who gets bamboozled. For lack of a better phrase this time around. This is ostensibly, on the surface, it's a retelling of Onikakushi, but it's kind of not. It's only a retelling of Onikakushi in that it focuses on Reina as, the main character. But the events are, super different from the way events play out in Onikakushi. It's always a bit weird with the answer arcs, because it's a bit... The answer arcs don't necessarily give you the answers, or they give you some of the answers, but not all of them. And they're called answer arcs, but it's very clear that it's I don't know. It seems clear that it's with Himatsubushi, and Watanagashi hens. I guess it's like the particular quirks that created the Watanagashi hen story also created the Himatsubushi story, and then just certain things were different, like who saved who at the start. And it's almost the same here, where the quirks that would create the Onikakushi story that focused around Reina and Keiichi have now created the Tsumihoroboshi story, which also focused on Reina and Keiichi, but from a different perspective. Anyway, an old man who's holding a jacket on his arm was waiting for me. He looked like he was overheating and his tie was limp. You, Miss Ryugu? Reina Ryugu? Ever since Rina called me Reina, I've hated that name more than ever. Because of that, I didn't have a good first impression of this man. Yeah, that's me. May I ask who you are? My car has air conditioning, so why don't we move this into there? Aren't you hot out here? He ignored my question and started walking towards the car parked in front of the school gate. If he wanted to talk about something normal, he would have used the teacher's office, but he wanted to talk in his car instead. I couldn't help but feel suspicious. In every game except for the first one, I've been suspicious of him, I have to say. Miss Chie let him see me, though. That meant he wasn't a suspicious individual as far as she was concerned. Who was he? I don't bite, you know. Please, this way. He called out to me while opening the rear door. Is he a policeman? Did the police find out that I killed those two? I felt anxious all of a sudden. Was this what they called a voluntary interview? I didn't want to go in that car, but if I rejected his offer, it would only make me look suspicious. I prepared myself and got in. It was really cool inside the car. A car AC must cost a fortune. At least my father's car doesn't have one. Please let me know if it's too cold. I like keeping it that way. So what's this talk about? In retaliation, I ignored his question and got to the point like he did. He pulled a small notebook out of his breast pocket and flipped through it. He picked a photo from it. The photo showed the face of a goofy-looking man. Please tell me if there's anything you know about this person. The man in the picture was expressionless and looked half asleep. Sometimes you can't even recognise your own family members in a photo when they don't have an expression. So there's no way I'd recognise a person who wasn't related to me. But anyway, that was a bit of a relief. This had nothing to do with Rina or her partner. There were scribbles on his shirt, and we found the signatures of students at the school, including yours, Ms. Ryugu. Hand cream. Eh? Is this Mr. Tomitake? I don't feel his usual carefree unreliableness from this picture at all. From this half-awake, emotionless face. How about this woman, then? I knew what he was going to show. Her name is Miss Mio Takano. When did you see them last? I think it was right after the Watanagashi festival. Didn't you notice anything strange? Anything. Please tell me. Did something happen to them? Yeah, I got it. To tell you the truth, I wasn't sure if it was Reina or Mion. So you gambled? How risky. It doesn't matter how he won. What matters is that he won. Oh, Reina. Welcome back. What took you so long? Mia noticed that Reina had returned. She looked exhausted. I've no idea what she talked about with the visitor, but it was obvious it wasn't something fun. Reina, are you okay? What? What's okay? What? I'm talking about you. You look pale. You sure you're alright? Reina tried to convince her she was fine, but her face clouded over for a moment and she decided to leave early. I shouldn't have forced her to join the game. I was regretting it a little. Reina probably forced herself to play with us, even though she wasn't feeling well at all. Reina put her stuff in her bag, apologised to us for leaving early, and left the classroom. Oh, she's gone now. I guess we have to keep playing until we have a loser. That's right. Whose turn is it? Meep. Okay, Rika, come on. Alright. We're in bad shitsville. Maybe I should rename the stream to We're in bad shitsville. First of all, I wasn't very close to Miss Mio. I knew who she was, so I greeted her whenever we happened to pass by, but that was about it. I never really talked to her except for the one time. And that time was only recently. It was between the day of the Watanagashi festival and the day I was caught in the act of burying the two corpses by Keiichi and my other friends. I had a phone call from the library that evening, and I was told that my father needed to return the book he borrowed. He was shopping at the home improvement store at the time, so I went to the library to return the book for him. While I was there, I thought about borrowing some books for myself, and I started walking around the library. I saw her there. Oh, Reina, hello. Miss Mio, hello to you too. I didn't expect to see you here. Really? I was going to say the same thing. I always spend time here and I've never seen you. She smiled in the very attractive and charming way that only mature women can do. Her smile gave no indication that she knew her death was just a few days away. She said that she often met with Mr. Tomatake at the library. It seemed like she had some time to kill, so she told me she wanted to buy me a drink. I had nothing to do after that. I let her buy me a canned iced milk tea from the vending machine in the library, and we talked for a while. Once I came to think about it, it was a little ironic. She mostly talked about the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. She had no idea that she was going to be the victim of its 5th year. The series of mysterious deaths? You've heard about it at least once, haven't you? 4 years ago, the manager of the dam construction site was murdered. 3 years ago, the Hojo couple died. 2 years ago, the Furude couple died. And last year, it was Satoko's aunt. The series of mysterious deaths have been going on for 4 years now. And in a few days, it'll be the 5th. I've heard about it, but you don't know for sure that someone will die this year. I do. Someone will die in a few days for sure. There's that old saying, everything that happens twice will happen a 3rd time. So isn't it also true that everything that happens 4 times will happen a 5th? Ms. Mia was convinced that the 5th mysterious death was going to happen, but she didn't know she was going to be the 5th victim. Well, Mike slightly. That's ironic, and also really creepy. Fucking amen. There was always something creepy about her, so maybe she knew that she was going to be killed in a few days, but still managed to make that mysterious smile. The series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. Of course I know about it. I've lived here for more than a year. Every year on the day of the Watanagashi festival, one traitor to the village dies mysteriously. It's been that way since the dam conflict. Each case was solved individually, but mysterious incidents still happen every year. Makes me wonder if there's some kind of will to all this. The creepiness and incomprehensibility of it all gave rise to the name The Curse of Oyashiro-sama, which fit perfectly. Despite all this, I always thought The Curse of Oyashiro-sama was just a series of coincidences. My reason for that is because I strongly believe that Satoshi was the one who murdered his aunt on the 4th year. That's because it's pretty much confirmed to be canonically true. I don't have any evidence, but I just know it. I know that Satoshi was in a serious predicament last year and that he had nowhere to turn. He had no one to help him, but he had to save Satoko as soon as he could. Satoshi thought it through and made the best choice he could to handle the situation, just like I did when I had my problem with Rina. And that's why the uncle's not a problem this year, because although Satoko doesn't know it. My headphone jack has got tangled. Hang on. There we go. Headphone cord, rather. Even though Satoko didn't know it, her uncle's been killed, so he's definitely not going to be a problem this year. I hesitated to inform Ms. Mio that Satoshi was the murderer on the 4th year, so I just listened to her for a while. According to her theory, the series of mysterious deaths isn't just a set of coincidences, I know how to speak English, but is instead a series of interrelated murder cases. At that point, my theory was completely the opposite of hers, but I decided not to get in. You know about the cult of Oyashiro-sama here in Hinamizawa, don't you? Mr. Kano started telling me that Hinamizawa was once called Onigafuchi. She also explained the story of how the villagers were in the old days, showing me the scrapbook she was so proud of. The villagers back then were called man-eating demons, but were also admired as transcendents, enlightened people not bound by earthly desires. So according to your theory, a group of cultists who worship Oyashiro-sama are living in Hinamizawa, and they're trying to show the power of their god by enacting a series of mysterious deaths, right? I'm not sure if we should call them cultists or fundamentalists. The line between them is very vague. In the Meiji era, when the name of the village was changed to Hinamizawa, the customs and the traditions of Onigafuchi were brought to an end. I think there are some people who want to revive those traditions and regain the name and aura of Onigafuchi. Ms. Mio's theory was more than a little crazy, but it was also fascinating. At first, her theory had sounded like she was just jumping to conclusions, but after she eagerly showed me the documents she'd been studying, I started to think it wasn't actually too far from the truth. If her theory was true, it would mean that the accidental deaths of the Hojo couple in the 2nd year, the suicide and death by disease of the Furude couple in the 3rd year, and the drug addict murder in the 4th year were all cooked up. It'd mean someone who has a lot of power and influence over the police was involved. When I pointed that out, Mio nodded in agreement, and she started talking about how strongly they were rooted in the village and how deeply they were involved with many public organisations. They're the Yakuza. That's my theory, at least. After she finished explaining all that, I finally noticed that Mio was suggesting that the 3 families, including the Sonozaki family, were the masterminds behind the murder incidents. In fact, the Sonozaki family really is very powerful. They held influence not only over Hinamizawa and Okonomiya, but also over the entire Shishibone area. Might not be wrong to say that they even hold influence over the entire prefecture. If the Sonozaki family is behind all of this, her theory would be more realistic. But that means I should be suspicious of Mion. No, I shouldn't. But in fact, Mion was very cold and unkind to Satoshi when he was going through a tough time. I know there was conflict between the Sonozaki family and the Hojo family during the Dam Wars, but still, she was very cold to Satoshi. But Mion admitted that what she did was wrong, and I forgave her too. I didn't want to think about that again. I decided to change the subject because I knew it would make me feel uncomfortable if we kept talking about the Sonozaki family. First of all, what is the people's belief in Oishiro-sama all about? It's a little funny that demons and humans wanted to coexist. In folktales, humans usually try and wipe out the demons. That's quite true. That's why Oyasho-sama is so interesting. However, there are actually many stories that say people in the old days worshipped a god that had drifted to our world from the land of the gods. It's the worship of drifted gods, in other words. There are a number of myths all over the world about people worshipping a god who came from beyond the sea or from up a river. The gods in those myths are actually people who came from different countries, right? That's the general theory, yes. Ancient Japanese culture was far behind that of other nations. When Japanese people in those days saw a foreigner from a developed country, they were so impressed by the knowledge of the person how they started worshipping them as a god. That's one theory. I've heard that Red Oni and Blue Oni were actually foreigners who drifted ashore in Japan because their boats got shipwrecked. The Japanese may have created Tengu out of foreigners too. They probably saw a foreigner who had very reddish skin with a very long nose. Wow, you're pretty sharp, Marina. I agree with you. I think most drifted god worship are based on encounters with foreigners. But if that's so, Onigafuchi's drifted god worship would have a contradiction. Do you know what it is? No, I don't. Seriously, Onigafuchi isn't adjacent to the sea. Of course. In order to have any connection to foreigners, the place in question must also have a connection to the outside world. In Western countries, that connection would be rivers but running between adjacent countries. In Japan, that connection would be the ocean. So most of the drifted god stories in Japan originated near the shores. Isn't there a possibility that the foreigner washed ashore somewhere else first and then travelled to Onigafuchi? Well, the thing about the worship of Oyashiro-sama is, it specifically pinpoints Onigafuchi Swamp as the place where demons first appeared. The swamp isn't connected to any rivers, so how could a foreigner wash up there? That's why the mystery of Oyashiro-sama is so interesting. How much do you know about the legend of Oyashiro-sama? I just read a picture book about it in school. I feel like I know a lot about it, but I actually don't. I just have an extreme fear of the rule not to leave Hinamizawa. After all, my life went wrong after I left. Felt dizzy when I tried to think about it further, so I stopped. When everything went wrong in Ibaraki, I met Oyashiro-sama and he told me to go back to Hinamizawa. No, I'll get dizzy. Don't try to remember. Don't try to remember. I can't remember. I got desperate because I felt responsible for the divorce. I just used Oyashiro-sama as an excuse for my mental instability, and I told my father I wanted to go back to Hinamizawa, right? But wait, Oyashiro-sama did come to me. Oh no, the colours are too dazzling. I can only remember the vivid colour of the pills and the dizziness. That's all you need to know. The demons came out of Onigafuchi Swamp and they attacked the villagers. Oyashiro-sama saw it and came down to save the villagers from the demons by exiling them to hell. The demons cried and the villagers felt bad for them. They decided to let the demons live in the village with them. Oyashiro-sama was impressed by the kind hearts of the villagers, so he gave human form to the demons and let them coexist. The blood of the demons blended with that of the villagers as they lived alongside each other. That's exactly what I read in the book. I felt dizzy, like I was going to faint, because I touched the one memory I didn't want to. People say that most myths are based on an event of some sort that happened long ago. What do you think is the truth behind this myth? Because I was still feeling dizzy, all I could do was tilt my head quizzically. It seemed like Ms. Mia was expecting that response, because she smiled, looking satisfied that she'd successfully made me confused. I'm, freaked out already. She took a scrapbook out of her paper bag. I'll let you borrow this for a while. Thank you, but don't worry, just read it whenever you have some time to kill. I want to know what you think about the things written in this scrapbook. I'd like to know even if you disagree with me, because you really are very sharp. Jiro isn't interested in things like this at all, so I appreciate your input. Jiro is, and I'm going to say a phrase here, he's not a... I'm not going to say the phrase I was going to because it's wrong. Jiro Tomitake, the photographer, he is the guy who will break into the Forbidden Storehouse that his girlfriend and some kids that she basically intimidated into going in, can go in and she can tell them spooky stories and freak them out. I had a little choice but to take the scrapbook. Apparently, Ms. Mio came to the library often, so I figured I could return to her whenever I came to return my books. However, the day I'd returned the scrapbook to Ms. Mio never came. What's wrong? You don't look good. You feeling okay? I caught a summer cold. I'm still recovering from it. It wasn't the summer cold that was making me feel dizzy. I always get dizzy when I try to remember the time I met Oyashiro-sama in Ibaraki. I mustered all my courage and asked her, My memory of those days in Higurashi is blurry. I know I met Oyashiro-sama. Nobody believed me and they told me it was a hallucination, but I thought Ms. Mio would listen to me. Miss Mio, can I talk to you about something? Yes, of course. You listen to me, so it's my turn to listen to you. Well, it's about Oyashiro-sama. You might laugh at me. I won't. You didn't laugh at me either. Miss Mio said it in a very gentle and mature way, and that encouraged me. Even so, I still hesitated to talk. But there was probably nobody but Miss Mio with whom I could talk about something like this. I gathered my courage again and spoke. I have met Oyashiro-sama. You have? Yes. I used to live in Hinamizawa until right before I went to elementary school, but my mother got a job in Ibaraki, so we moved. Well, you know what that means, right? Yes, I do. You broke the rule of Oyashiro-sama, which is to never leave Hinamizawa. That's right. And then many things happened. My mother divorced my father, and my family was broken. I got desperate and did some bad things. Must have been terrible. Then what happened? I started hating everything in this world, and I started to feel like everybody who was happy was looking down on me. That's when a mysterious existence started to appear. You mean Oyashiro-sama? The first time it came to me was, please don't tell anyone about this. It was when I started injuring myself by cutting my body with a knife. I cut my neck and something very dirty and gross came out with the blood from the wound. It was, I'm not going to laugh. Go on. The chill I felt at that time came back to me. I sealed that memory away so that I wouldn't have to remember ever again. But once I had sealed it, I started remembering things one after another. Yes, back then, there was something in the blood, something crawling. It was countless dark red maggots. They squirmed up and out from my neck with each drop of blood, but they wanted to stay in my body, so they crawled back in through the cut. I didn't want those creepy things to get back inside my body, so I... You hate to see it, folks. Lynn, I have a question. Is Umineko as, like, horror-esque as Higurashi can get? I don't actually know if it's a horror or if it's more like a murder mystery. Oof. You really do hate to see it, folks. I didn't want those creepy things to get back inside my body, so I clawed at the cut on my neck to get them out. But it hurt so much and it only made my hands and neck bloody. I got scared all of a sudden. I was scared because I thought there were that many nasty maggots in my blood vessels. So I cut a blood vessel on my thigh just to see how it looked. I thought I could see it better if it was my thigh. Then they used out from there too. So many of them. I understand, Miss Regis, so please calm down. No, you don't understand. The maggots come out with my blood, but then they try and get inside my veins. You hate to see it. I'm glad, though. I'm glad. I was gonna say, I'd feel kind of bad if this was like, clearly, I'm excited to see what Ciconia is like, because it seems almost like Higurashi was the training wheels for Umineko. Oof. But then they tried to get back inside my veins. It really, really itches. Please, bring a doctor. No, don't claw it like that. Bring me a sedative. Hurry, hold her down. Please kill the maggots in my veins. Please take all the blood out of my body and flush my veins out. There are so many of them in there. Why don't you believe me? I'll show you. You'll believe me if you see them, right? I don't want to get any more shots. No. Calm down, okay? Miss Mio sat next to me and held my hands tightly. Her touch brought me back to reality. So what happened? Nobody believed me, but then he showed up. Oyashiro-sama came to me. The memory was very vague and I saw flickering lights, made it difficult for me to remember. I met Oyashiro-sama. That sentence is all I remembered. The memory of actually meeting Oyashiro-sama was unbelievably vague. After I got out of the hospital, I continued being treated at home. I still felt something moving in my brains, so I wanted to cut my body to make the blood ooze out so I could make sure there were no maggots in there. Usually I was sleeping like the dead because of the strong pills I was taking, but one day I forgot to take the pill and my consciousness was very clear. I felt the maggots moving in my veins and I felt the urge to look inside. I cut a vein on my wrist. I knew it. A lot of blood and many dusky red maggots came out from the wound. I wanted to wash them off before they crawled back inside of me, so I put my wrist under running water in the bathroom sink and tried to open the vein. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. Time to put a warning on this when I put it on YouTube. Water, blood, and maggots ran down into the drain, just like squeezing out the pus from a pimple. I squeezed the vein to get rid of the dirty blood and the maggots. I kept doing it. My arm started to feel numb and I felt cold, but I kept doing it. I thought I might die from losing too much blood, but I kept doing it. Yeah, sorry, Eris, you may want to plug your ears. If you've been watching Lynn play Umineko, as just saying to Lynn, I think Higurashi was the training wheels for Umineko, so it's expect like Umineko levels of awfulness. The thing that's got me fucked up is that she was clawing at her neck, which, as we know, is how Jiro died, and it's also how, spoiler alert, dies later on. My body was filled with maggots. I had to squeeze all the blood out of me. Love to freak out my upstairs neighbours if they can hear me reading these games. And then a very bright light shone upon me. It was a very bizarre sensation. I'd never experienced anything like it in my life. All of a sudden, the dark bathroom was filled with the bright light. It was very bright but gentle. It wasn't like the light from the merciless fluorescent bulb. It was very warm and gentle. That was Oyasho-sama. Oyasho-sama was looking at me with gentleness and sadness in his eyes. As he touched my wound, the maggot started melting and disappeared in front of my eyes. Okay, I'm glad to hear it. Just, yeah, don't have dinner just yet then. The maggot started melting and disappeared in front of my eyes. That wasn't all. All the maggots that were moving throughout all my veins disappeared too. Oyasho-sama taught me. These maggots were the curse. People of the demon's blood can't live outside Hinamizawa. It's the rule. Unfortunately, you've been cursed. It's very sad, and I feel sorry for you. There is only one way to save you. That's what he said. What should I do? The answer was very simple. All I needed to do was to go back to Hinamizawa. I unconsciously knew that before I heard it from Oyasho-sama. People who were born in Hinamizawa must never leave. But I broke Oyasho-sama's rules and I left Hinamizawa. That's when my family was broken and I lost my mind. If I hadn't left Hinamizawa, nothing would have gone wrong. And so I had to go back. Oyasho-sama also told me this. He could make the maggots, the embodiment of the curse, disappear. But only temporarily, because I lived far from Hinamizawa. There sure as shit is, Lynn! There sure as shit is! Here's some homework for you. Research, I believe it was somewhere in South America that this happened. It was a gas cloud that rose up from a swamp. And I can't remember what it's called. It's terrifying and it's only happened twice. And then just bear that in mind. After a while, the power of Oyasho-sama would fade away and the curse would start eating my body again. If that happened, the maggots would take over my body and I would go insane and die. I must go back to Hinamizawa before his power to hold down the curse faded away. That's what Oyasho-sama told me. He did. I heard him tell me that. I should have gone back to Hinamizawa earlier. That's why Oyasho-sama came to me to put his curse on me. But he gave me a chance. He gave me a chance to pay for my sin of leaving Hinamizawa. Dad, listen. Oyasho-sama's going to help us. Let's go back to Hinamizawa. No! Hinamizawa is the place where we must live. If we don't, not only me, but you might be cursed too. I have a question. Just now, just before I went, no! Was there like a freeze on stream? Did anything hiccup? Because it's hiccuping to me, but I've never been able to work out how it translates into like streaming. Anyway, yeah, look it up. It's happened twice IRL and it's terrifying. Okay. Yeah. I believe it's something to do with my, okay. That one would have been longer. I believe it's something to do, the more I talk about it, the worse it gets. I think it's something to do with my graphics driver. There only seems to be certain games that cause an issue. I've noticed it when I was playing Assassin's Creed, and I've noticed it when I'm streaming this game, but it seems to be specifically this one. So apparently it's something to do with my graphics driver, but I've updated my graphics driver and I haven't been able to fix it, so I apologise in advance. Every stream I do is cursed to have technical issues, so... If we don't, not only me, but you might be cursed too. Oops, let me tab back into the game. Let's go back to Hinamizawa. That's the only place where we can live. We need to hurry. We need to hurry, or Oyashiro-sama's power will fade away and my body will be eaten by the maggots. Oh no, Oyashiro-sama's following me. He's telling me to hurry. He follows me everywhere and he keeps telling me to hurry. He keeps apologising to me for putting his curse on me. He follows me everywhere and keeps apologising. I'm telling you the truth. I am. Why can't anybody see it? Why can't they see the maggots or Oyashiro-sama? Everybody is trying to fool me. I know they can see them too. No, no, please stop. I don't want to get another shot. Ah! And start scream here. Are you okay? I was breathing hard and Ms. Mio was holding my shoulders. I could feel that the terrible memory I'd been trying to forget was awakening. The doctors told me the memory was just my delusion. They told me that since I blamed myself for the divorce, I unconsciously had a desire to blame someone else for it, and I unconsciously connected the desire to the folktale of Oyashiro-sama that I read when I was little. I got drug treatment, received counselling, and waited. I gradually got better, and that proved the things I saw were just a hallucination. The doctors asked my father to consider moving to Hinamizawa if possible. Fortunately, he wanted to change his living environment to heal his pain from the divorce as well. So we came back to Hinamizawa. After we came back, I felt it. I felt it in my bones that this was the place we should live. And I also felt Oyashiro-sama's blessing. I definitely felt it. I felt the curse of Oyashiro-sama starting to break. I was free. After I moved here, I went to the clinic in GORE for a while. The doctor gave me the same poisonous-looking pills, and I kept taking them for a while. The terrible memory gradually became unclear. Whenever I tried to remember it, I could only remember the strong side effect of the pills that made me dizzy. That's how I regained my peace. And then I changed my name, Reina. The reason was because my name reminded me of those bad memories. I didn't want to have anything icky in my life anymore. That's why I came up with the idea of taking the icky things out. After I took the I of icky out of my name, Reina, there was only Rei and Na left. That's how Reina was born. I liked that. I wonder how that works in Japanese. It must be something to do with changing the kanji used for it, taking like a kanji out of there and changing. When I was introduced to my classmates, I told them to call me Reina. Since then, that had been my name. I'm living my new life as Reina. I cut away all the sad things that happened when I was Reina. My father still calls me Reina, but I don't feel bad as long as it was just my father and my relatives. But then Reina came into my life one day, and she called me Reina. Because she called me Reina, those coloured lights started flickering again. I should stop. I should forget about it. The lights were still flickering. I'm sorry, was I panicking that badly? You were muttering to yourself. I'm glad you calmed down. Judging by Ms. Mio's reaction, you get the binaural audio of me wiggling around as I try and sit somewhere that doesn't put my legs to sleep. Judging by Ms. Mio's reaction, I wasn't panicking as badly as I thought it was, but I probably had those panicked hallucinations several times. If I started screaming and yelling like I once did, they'd take me away to a hospital again for sure. I'm certain I met Oyashiro-sama. I saw the maggots. It's hard to believe, right? Ms. Mio smiled, looking a little confused. I couldn't blame her. I didn't expect her to believe it. I'm sure it was just a strange memory I created for myself in my hallucinations. I can't believe I can't trust myself. That's the worst feeling of all. Reina, first of all, you don't have to worry about anything. Yes? I'm talking about the curse you're afraid of and the maggots that you saw in your blood. According to what Oyashiro-sama said, you're free from them as long as you stay in Hinamizawa, right? I don't know why I'm whispering suddenly. I always forget the voice that I do for Takano. Ah, okay. That's probably how they did it then. They would have changed it from the AE to the just RE. Or it would have taken the E out. I can't remember my hiragana or my katakana, I have to say. It's been a long time. Yes, that's what he said. Then you don't have to be scared. You don't have to worry about anything. You're in Hinamizawa right now. Well, this library is Okonomiya, but it's very close to Hinamizawa. I'm sure it's okay with Oyashiro-sama. You don't feel anything moving in your veins right now, do you? No, I don't. So there's nothing to worry about. You're following Oyashiro-sama's rules. There's nothing you should be scared of. Is there? Right? No. I didn't know until then that she was such a warm-hearted person. I met many doctors and talked to them about this, but they always ignored me and didn't really listen. All they did was give me a shot of the drug I hated. On the other hand, Ms. Mio didn't deny my story or the existence of Oyashiro-sama. The people in this village whisper behind her back that she's a little crazy, but she was actually a very kind person, I thought. Reina, I believe everything you just told me. Thank you so much. You're the first one to ever say that to me. So are you. You're the first one who didn't laugh at me and listen to me so seriously. Okay. I think we can be good friends. Ms. Mio smiled, touching my head with hers. Well, I'll let you borrow my secret files for my scrapbooks. Those are top secret. I didn't want to show these to anybody, but you're special. I think I can trust you. I know you'll take them seriously. She took a few scrapbooks out of a paper bag and handed them to me. Let me know what you think after you read them. There might be something in them that only you can understand. Ms. Mia was acting mysteriously. She smiled mischievously and put her index finger on her lips as a sign to keep it a secret. Don't tell anybody about the scrapbooks or that I'm studying this, okay? We're keeping this a secret? Okay, I got it. If they find out that I've been studying this, they might get rid of me. She laughed after she said that. They might erase her. That's what she said. And she went missing. She left me her scrapbooks. But that's not all there is to it. It's the way Mr. Tomitake died. Mr. Oishi said he committed suicide because of a state of excitation caused by some sort of drug. But I know what really happened. I didn't tell Mr. Oishi about it. I don't think he'd believe me even if I told him. Without a doubt, Mr. Tomitake died trying to get rid of the maggots. It was nothing other than the curse of Oyashiro-sama. To never leave Hinamazawa isn't the only rule of Oyashiro-sama. There are more. He might have broken one of them without knowing it. Mr. Oishi told me. Mr. Tomitake was taking pictures with his camera flash on during the sacred ritual dance, and some people got mad at him for it. Did Oyashiro-sama put his curse on Tomitake because he violated the sacred ritual dance? Might be for another reason. Anyway, he died from the curse of Oyashiro-sama without a doubt. Did that mean Oyashiro-sama put his curse on Ms. Mio too? Investigating the gods is the same as getting close to the gods. It's disrespecting them. But Ms. Mio told me that they might get rid of her if they found out about her investigation. By they, she meant humans. Plus, according to her theory, the three families are in a conspiracy to revive the faith of Oyashiro-sama. But I can tell by the way Mr. Tomitake died that it was the act of the curse. Hand cream. My hands are really dry at the moment. I'm certain about that because I experienced the curse myself. And at first glance, that seemed incompatible with these conspiracy theories about human beings. I remember that Mr. Oishi told me something about some kind of drug that can make a person commit suicide. So do the three families have a secret drug that can cause the curse of Oyashiro-sama? That's impossible. Plus, I didn't get any sorts of a suspicious drug like that. I had a normal life in Ibaraki. I wasn't involved with the Somozaki family or the Kimiyoshi family. Mr. Oishi asked me a favour. He asked me to tell him secretly if I saw or heard anything suspicious. It could be about Mion, Rika, or anyone in the village. Ms. Mio believed my story about Oyashiro-sama. Now she's gone. Okay. Yeah, I figured there was a similar sort of punning in Japanese. I was just wondering sort of what the wrangling was, so maybe I should I'll do a goog. I'm sure people are talking about it on forums somewhere. To be honest, I wonder if in the manga there's like some translator's note saying this is what the Japanese says, but it doesn't make sense in English, so. Ms. Mio believed my story about Oyashiro-sama. Now she's gone. Mr. Tomitake died by doing the same thing I did. Oh, no. I don't want to get involved with the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Is this a conspiracy of a group of fanatical cult members, or is it a curse of Oyashiro-sama? Is everything just a set of coincidences, or maybe it's a mixture of conspiracy and the curse? I don't know. Is it the work of humans, the curse, or a coincidence? Oh, even the light of the sunlight was making me feel dizzy. When did the sunlight in Hinamazawa get so mean? Ms. Mio told me to keep her investigation secret. I have her top secret scrapbooks. They might hold the truth about everything. When I realised that, I got scared all of a sudden. I might end up the same way as Mio, because I have her scrapbooks. If it's a conspiracy, I'll be erased. If it's the curse, I'll be cursed. I should burn the scrapbooks. That's the safest thing to do. But Miss Mio believed my story. Miss Mio listened to me without laughing. It'd feel wrong to burn them without taking a look. If it's a conspiracy, I have to expose it. If it's the curse, I have to break it. I shouldn't run away. I should fight. That's right. I decided to fight to seize my happiness. I shouldn't give in to misfortunes. I have to fight. I'm going to get rid of all the things that are trying to ruin my peaceful life. I'm going to read her scrapbooks when I get home. I started walking faster. We really are in Badge Sipsville tonight. The title of the stream seems to be completely incongruous with actually what's going on, so perhaps I should change that. Attention, Karuda Mental Clinic. Hello. To get straight to the point, we can assume that this is an acute case of post-traumatic stress disorder. The patient is subject to tremendous distress because of her parents' sudden divorce and being forced to choose to live with either her mother or her father. Furthermore, the patient firmly believes she was responsible for her parents' divorce, which further drives her to self-mutilation. The parents' larger stock stems from a sense of betrayal of her own household, which she believed was an absolute safe haven. Henceforth, there is a high possibility the patient will resort to psychological defence measures to protect her family. For example, she might feel high disdain for any person of the opposite sex who approaches her father. She might feel uncomfortable about having other people in her home. She may also display eccentric behaviour in order to keep people away from it. As an example of the latter, the reported cases of patients unconsciously bringing home garbage. It's highly important that the patient remains in close communication with her father. By deepening the communication between the two of them, it'll strengthen their family bond and loosen up her anxiety. Since the patient only shows signs of acute syndrome in this case, there's a very good chance she'll recover within 3 months with her father's support and proper medication. However, it's common for a patient who seemed to have recovered to have a sudden reoccurrence, a flashback, even after 10 years. Her father is still fairly young, and there's a chance he could remarry. However, seeing an unfamiliar member of the opposite sex during remarriage could trigger a flashback in the patient, which may lead to avoidance behaviour or hyper-awareness. Please explain this part thoroughly to her father in order for him to understand the recovery process. Should the father decide to remarry, it's recommended that he should hold off on telling the patient until she reaches the age where she's capable of living independently. Also, the cause of the patient's psychosomatic self-mutilating behaviour, delusional parasitosis, seems to be its own culture-bound syndrome. The patient blindly believes that leaving a home village will cause a curse, and that this curse was the cause of her parents' divorce. We believe this is a subconscious defensive mechanism to reduce her mental trauma by shifting the blame from herself to her village's curse. According to the patient's statement, the culture of a home village is extremely strict and exclusive. The patient believes there's no way to be saved from the curse other than by going back to the village, as the curse will continue as long as she lives in her current environment. Through this, we see an inclination of schizophrenia, and believe the chances are high that the patient will continue to alter their perceived reality. Schizophrenia, a case where patients' personalities are reduced, causing altered perceptions, reality, and delusions. Her delusion about the maggot swelling in her blood is a perfect example, and is also the cause of her psychosomatic self-mutilating behaviour. When a delusion involves psychosomatic self-mutilating behaviour, it's extremely dangerous. I highly recommend for the father to move back to the village if he's financially capable. Allowing her to live with relatives in the village might also work. If such a strong belief can induce symptoms such as self-mutilation, then there might be other cases similar to this one. Perhaps prior medical files to document similar culture-bound syndromes may be available at a large medical institution in her local area. It will then be possible to provide better and more accurate mental care for the patient by obtaining these case files. This B5 size letter was with a bunch of memos. The following was on the backside of the letter. 1 chukaron, 3 Shanghai-style goku, ukomoki yakisoba, 1 large fried rice. That's me writing the takeout order on the back. That's interesting. It's a constant question in Higurashi. Is there actually a curse, or is it the work of people, or is it the work of people believing that there is a curse and or exploiting it? And it's a constant question that goes round and round and sort of gets discussed every time. So, let's see what our next achievement is. Mystery Machine. Oh my. I am sorry, by the way, I am really, really tired. This week has just drained me. So I'm a bit fuzzy today, which is why my reactions perhaps aren't as sharp as they could be. I'll rename stream to be shorter and also more accurate. I'm just like falls asleep on the floor. you know. I'm glad to hear that, Eris, although also not. Yeah. Higurashi's tips tend to be like like little documents that refer to stuff. A really good example for this for me is in in chapter 5 in book 5, whatever you want to call it. All of the tips were extracts from the diary that Mion or Shion wrote, trying to work out exactly what's going on, with a handful of like stories told from an alternate viewpoint, which is how it is here as well. We've got a handful of Rika POV stories, but most of them tend to be like extra documents that are sort of tucked in to sort of supplement the story, but you don't need to read them. They just sort of give you those extra bits of information. So sometimes it is like, this is a medical slip, and sometimes it's like an extract from a diary, and then sometimes it's like here's a silly conversation, or like an alternate seat, like a flashback. It was that way in chapter 3, completely forgotten the name of it now, where the first like handful of tips were like flashbacks to previous scenes showing off Satoko's trapping ability. Pretty neat is what it is. About homing ability and homesickness. If you interpret homing ability in a broad sense, you can say that most animals have a homing ability. It's the same with humans. We like to sleep, rest and eat at a place where we feel comfortable, namely our homes. Your home is to you what nests are to animals. Therefore, we can say that humans have a homing ability as well. The ability to walk home, no matter how drunk you are, and no matter how bad you've hurt your ankle. First of all, why do animals need nests? The answer is the same as for humans. Sleeping, resting and eating are the essential actions for survival. At the same time, those actions leave one defenseless as well. That's why you need a safe area where you can be defenseless. Everybody knows that not having this safe area results in a high level of stress. When you move an animal to a new environment, it naturally becomes stressed. When you force a person to live in a foreign land where they aren't comfortable, they become greatly stressed as well. Everybody also knows that this kind of stress is called homesickness. The Japanese don't know much about homesickness. We defined it as mental weakness and neglected to treat it for a long period of time. However, homesickness has a very long history. In Europe's Middle Ages, people believed it wasn't a mental but rather a physical disease. People also believe that out of everyone, the Swiss got the disease the most. The Swiss, you see, were known to be an ethnic group that worked away from home in that era. They lived far away from their homes. There were no telephones at that time, so they couldn't even hear their families' voices for ages and ages. It's easy to imagine that young Swiss workers got homesick while working in a strange land. These Swiss who got homesick wanted to go home, but they couldn't because of their jobs. The conflict made them weak physically and mentally. Some of them went crazy and tried to escape from their reality by committing suicide or running away. The Swiss at the time were very superstitious, and many folk remedies and occult-like treatments to prevent homesickness went around. Since going home was the only treatment, they must have called it a fatal disease. But it isn't really one, of course. Specifically, homesickness is a sign of that human homing instinct. Your brain desires to go back to your safe area, namely your home. What about when it desires to go back to the place you no longer live in? Homesick for London, and then I go down to London, and then I get homesick for being back up in Nottingham again. At first, your brain makes you remember the happy memories of your home, and it urges you to go home in a natural way. But when reason stops you from achieving your desire, your brain starts sending unnatural signals to your body. As a result, your body gets weak, and that makes it more difficult for you to live in the strange land. In the end, you have to bend reason in order, to achieve your desire to go home. So homesickness is born from our homing instincts, and the stronger one's homing instinct dictates, the stronger their homesickness. The strength of that homing instinct varies from individual to individual, and depends on the environment in which those individuals live. When your home is safe and the environment you live in is dangerous, your homing instinct goes stronger. On the other hand, when the environment you live in is safer than your homing instinct becomes very weak. Safety isn't the only element that affects its strength. Cultural aspects affect it too. The many customs demanding families return home for major events varies with each region, so your birthplace's culture also alters the strength of your homing instinct. Amongst those regions, the transcendents of Onagafuchi village were believed to have an excessively strong homing instinct. The people of Fuchi village forbade their foes from ever leaving. Many believe this was the effect of elitism and sense of purity I already mentioned before. People today still strongly believe that Oyasho-sama puts his curse on you if you break his rule and abandon the village. This superstition can be interpreted as homesickness. If homesickness is directly proportional to one's homing instinct, then the exaggerated expression curse would signify the strength of that homesickness and also the homing instinct. I can assume they hated the outside world and created an insular society precisely because of their powerful homing instinct. So basically, it's the homesickness is because of the homing instinct, because they come from a scenario or a society. We live in a society that instills in them that they ought never to leave because they are better than everyone else. Unfortunately, there's no way to measure the strength of the homing ability that the primitive people of Onagafuchi had. It was so strongly forbidden to leave the village that nobody left long enough to get homesick. However, after the Meiji era, things changed. The sacredness of Onagafuchi dwindled with the efforts of modernization. Many young people started longing for city life, and some people were forced to leave the village to get a job. As a result, villagers started venturing outside the village borders. That was when the transcendence of Onagafuchi realized how strong the homing ability was for the first time. The residents of Hinamazawa got extremely homesick. After a while, people started to call this homesickness the curse of Oyashiro-sama. It became rumoured that a person who left the village to get a job in a strange land was cursed, that he went crazy and died, and that the people who left the village started coming back to either it or the nearby town. The homesickness and the homing ability were very strong because of their culture. It's reasonable to think these were cultivated by the unique religion of Hinamazawa, namely the cult of Oyashiro-sama. From the moment they were born, they were taught the rules of Oyashiro-sama. They must have felt guilty about leaving the village unconsciously. As a result, they considered the homesickness to be the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I'm not sure if the homesickness got stronger because of the rules of Oyashiro-sama, or if they made the rules because their homesickness got stronger. I don't know which came first. I got tired of reading such small print and lay down on the floor on my back. The true identity of the curse of Oyashiro-sama is homesickness? Ms. Mio believed my story and she let me read these scrapbooks. That's why I expected to find something interesting. But what it's saying is that the answer to it all is homesickness, which many doctors told me so many times in counselling. I'm a little upset. The word homesickness can't explain the extraordinary experience I had. I saw Oyashiro-sama come down to me from a bright light in the bathroom. I saw the dusky red nasty maggots coming out of my blood vessels. The scrapbook doesn't explain any of that. I don't understand how Ms. Mia was going to explain the cloud of maggots. Maybe she didn't have any explanation of that to begin with. Was it just a delusion? I flipped through one of the other scrapbooks Ms. Mia let me borrow, looking for an explanation of the maggots I saw. Then, I found it. It had the exact title I was looking for. They cut me. Slaps on cheeks. Cold drink, try and wake up that way. About maggots and the curse of Oyashiro-sama. In the Meiji era, a group of villagers were on their way back to Hinamazawa and they started discussing a rumour about a weird disease. They said that maggots started crawling out the wounds of a person who left Hinamazawa, and that the maggots, gross, ate the person's body from the inside. The Shinto priest of the Furude shrine at that time explained that the weird disease was a sign of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. According to tradition, the Shinto priest showed the villagers an ancient scroll, and he told them that the story of the maggots had been passed down through the ages. This is what the scroll said. The world where the demons come from must be interpreted as the land of death, and the demons in that land of death had to live their lives while being eaten by maggots. The villagers who are of the demon's blood had nothing to worry about as long as they lived in Hinamazawa under the protection of Oyashiro-sama. But once they left Hinamazawa, abandoning that protection, the maggots that had been sleeping in the blood of the demons would start to awaken and they'd eat their bodies from the inside out. This maggot disease scared the villagers for a while, and they asked the shrine to provide them with protective talismans whenever they had to leave the village on business. This is interesting, as it's similar to the way homesickness was dealt with by the Swiss in the Middle Ages. After the war started, the delusion of the maggot disease faded away, but there remained a custom to send talismans to families that lived away from Hinamazawa. The talismans had the word maggot on them, but the most interesting part about all of this is that the residents of Hinamazawa didn't know about the maggot disease until the rumours began. I thought their unconscious worship made those people think of homesickness as a curse. So this case of the previously unknown maggot disease directly contradicted the research I'd done so far. It's natural to think that the group of people who were on their way back to the village were lost in a mass delusion because they strongly believed in the curse, and that the Shinto priests took advantage of their state of panic to instill a deeper faith in them. But I'm not fully convinced that it was merely a coincidence that this mass delusion matched with the story in the old picture scroll. I wonder if it's possible to see maggots in a wound without having the prerequisite knowledge when a person is cursed by Oyashiro-sama. I wish Oyashiro-sama would put his curse on someone I could study. I'd love to see those maggots coming out of someone. I felt as if Miss Mia was here and making that request of me. Mia was kind of fucked up. BT dubs. I remember, when she gave me the scrapbooks, she said I might be the only one who could understand them. I felt good just for a moment, because I found out that the maggots weren't a delusion. But at the same time, I destroyed my excuse that it was a delusion. The maggots weren't a delusion. They were there. All of a sudden, my wrists, elbows, inner thighs and neck started itching. I felt the urge to cut open a blood vessel, but I quietly held it down. I remember that Ms. Mia looked very serious when I talked about the maggots. She must have thought it was creepy, but so did I. When I was crying because nobody believed me, a part of me didn't want to believe that my body was filled with those creepy things. I think part of me wanted to believe that it was a delusion, but now I know it wasn't. It wasn't a delusion. There are some people who had the same experience. Maggots in the demon's blood will awaken when you lose the protection of Oyashiro-sama. In other words, they may not awaken under the protection of Oyasha-sama, but all the villagers still have the maggots in them without knowing it. People of the demon's blood are people who have the creepy maggots in their bodies. I tried not to jump to conclusions and flip the pages again. I unconsciously looked for something related to maggots. About parasites and control of the host. The maggot disease made me think about something. Is it possible to say that an extremely strong homesickness of Hinamizawa was an infectious disease caused by some kind of parasite? I'm not trying to connect the maggots I saw with the parasites. I'm trying to think about the possibility that the culture, the religion, might be associated with an infectious disease. This idea terrifies me. It really, really freaks me out, the idea that this can happen or could happen to someone. Many infectious diseases are caused unintentionally by parasites. A parasite's host is literally its home. It wants to live within the host body for as long as it can. The best way to do that is to coexist with the host without the host knowing it. But some parasites try to control the host and use them for prosperity. For example, some parasites have an ability to control the host in order to force them to be eaten by a superior host. Typical example is the Dicrocrelium dendrocritum. It uses snails around as intermediate hosts, and it forces them to move to the upper side of vegetation so that it's easier for a superior host to consume it. One parasite that controls more complicated animals is called Toxoplasma gondii. It uses mice as an intermediate host, with the superior host being cats. This parasite makes a mouse lose its fear of cats in order to increase its chance of getting eaten, so that the parasite can live within a cat instead. There are parasites that choose hosts at random. The rabies virus is commonly known for that. It lives and breathes in the brain of a host, and it moves into the host's saliva through the salivary glands. It makes the host extremely aggressive in order to make it bad things randomly, so that it in turn can move into other hosts through the saliva. That's what rabies does. Many parrots have a similar ability to control hosts to their benefit. The examples used above are about parasites that move into other hosts to prosper, but I think there must be some kind of parasite that controls its host in order to have a comfortable environment in which to live. I want to try to connect this theory to the abnormal homing ability and homesickness of the Onagafuchi residents. Let's say there's some kind of parasite that exists in Hinamizawa and it lives within all the villagers' bodies. For the parasite, Hinamizawa is the most comfortable environment to live in, so it gives the host a strong homing ability in order to make them stay in Hinamizawa. Furthermore, it causes the host to get homesick whenever they ignore this homing ability and try to leave. Parasites need hosts in which to live. It's convenient for them if the host builds a community environment where it feels comfortable. This theory makes it easier for me to explain the mysteries I described earlier. The Transcendents of Onagafuchi village knew about the existence of this parasite. They knew that, as host of the parasites, they couldn't live outside the village. That's why they created a culture and laws that prohibited contact with the outside world. It also explains why people acted so abnormal during the dam conflict. So, the demons that came out of the swamp in the legend of Oyasha-sama can be interpreted as the mass spread of the parasite. The story about the demons attacking the villagers must be a metaphor of the behaviour in the infected villagers who are controlled by the parasite. This theory is too crazy. I should have just laughed about it, but I felt bad for Miss Mia, so I decided not to. Hinamizawa is controlled by a parasite? You could use that theory to explain how the maggots came out of me. I felt a little bit dizzy. I was so confused. A part of me thought it was ridiculous, and another part of me thought it was more convincing than any curse. But Miss Mia was probably erased because she wrote these scrapbooks. If so, the contents of these scrapbooks must be something they can't ignore. They tried to get all of her scrapbooks and consign them to oblivion. What if they notice some of her scrapbooks are missing? I felt a chill run through my spine. I have to keep it a secret that I have these, and I'll have to try to understand more about their contents. I remember Ms. Mio told me that the three families are behind the series of mysterious deaths, and that they're trying to resurrect the cult of Oyasha-sama. According to the theory I just read, the parasite must be trying to maintain the current environment of Hinamizawa. The healthiest environment for its completely closed village, just like the primitive Onagafuchi. Must be very comfortable for the parasite if no hosts go outside the village. They don't even like the villagers often leave the village to go shopping. That means the parasite would try to go the host into resurrecting the cult of Oyasha-sama. I remember there was an article in Scrapbook saying that the demon's blood runs thickest in the three families. That would mean they have a larger amount of parasites in them than other villages, and that they're under its control. Three families seem to be planning to bring the village back to the Onagafuchi era. Reviving the Watamigashi festival after the dam conflict can be interpreted as their desire to revive the faith that had started to fade away in the Meiji era. Three families, especially the Samzaka family, have a great influence over the region and the public organisations. What's going on here? I thought this to be a poorly written theory, but the pieces fit together one after another. I had never played a jigsaw puzzle as crazy as this. I felt my brain swelling due to this absurd theory. Part of me thought this was ridiculous. Another part thought I might be able to expose an unbelievable truth. When I tried to look into the centre of it, I felt as if I was going to fall into a whirlpool and drown. I'll have to devote myself to reading more seriously. There must be some truth to this. Caused misfortune and made my life miserable after I moved to Ibaraki. Might be able to find the truth, including the cause of my parents' divorce and my desperate behaviour. Right then, I heard a knock on the door all of a sudden, scaring me. I hid the scrapbooks under a cushion. Raina, you have a phone call. A phone call? This late? Who is it? It's from a bookstore? Did you order some books? They said they were at Mr. Oishi from the Okonomiya bookstore. Okay, I need to AFK super quickly, but I will be back in a hot second. So enjoy this. Yeah. Sorry about that. I opened the windows, but all they let in was heat and the cries of the cicadas. It's too hot. It really is. It was break time between classes, but we couldn't really get any rest. Mion and I leaned on our desks, exhausted by the heat. The younger kids sure are tough, considering how the heat wasn't bothering them at all. They were running around the classroom despite the temperature. Do schools in the cities have air conditioning in their classrooms? No, they don't. Only the teacher's office gets to have air conditioning. Wow, that's better than nothing. If I were a student at school like that, I'd attack the teachers and take over their office. You'd be the first student ever to do that. I didn't even have the energy to laugh. Mion and I stopped talking and used our notebooks to fan ourselves. I looked at the empty seat nearby. It was Raina's. Raina didn't come to school today. She called and told Miss Chia she couldn't come because she's sick. Sorry, but Raina seems to be feeling down these days. Yeah, she probably got tired from the heat. Do you really think that's the reason? Yeah, why? I think it's the incident. Maybe. It's probably both that and the summer heat. I can't even imagine how distressing it was for her to commit a murder, dismember the bodies and get caught by her friends. We took each other's hands to that place and reunited. All of us believed we'd closed the case there and had regained our peace. But was that as easy for Raina as it was for us? She must not have quite recovered yet. This old man thought she'd get over it if she played along with us. But I guess her pain ran deeper than I thought. What should we do to cheer her up? It's best just to leave her alone, I think. You sure about that? We're her friends, you know? Well, it's like homesickness, you know? You get lonely and you want to call home just to hear your mum's voice, but that actually makes your homesickness worse. When you're feeling lonely, the best thing to do is to devote yourself to sports or something like that for a change. I want her to do club activities with us, but she doesn't want to. I don't know about her, but people usually have desire to depend on someone. You want to depend on somebody who supports you and sympathises with you. Haven't you ever experienced that feeling? When you can't stop depending on somebody when they try and cheer you up? Well, I don't know. Completely depending on somebody means trying to earn even deeper sympathy from them. At that point, even though you're trying to comfort them, they just slip further and further into depression. By finding initial success through relying on someone receiving comfort, they grow addicted to indulging in misfortune. Boy, do I know this all too well. I think Raina knows that too. That's why she wants to be alone right now. If she wanted to depend on us or get comfort from us, all she'd have to do is stay with us and cry all the time. So how can we cheer her up? I think she'd appreciate it more if you tried to help her forget her pain than if you tried to cheer her up. Don't comfort her and don't cheer her up. There's nothing I can do, is there? That's a golden rule for psychologists, did you know? Mental trauma can only be healed by the person who has it. If someone else helps a person out of their mental trauma, even if they succeeded, that person wouldn't be completely healed. So all we can do now is wait until Raina heals on her own. I understand the idea, but I just don't like how cold it sounds. I clasped my hands behind the back of my head, looking up at the ceiling. Mion laughed. Raina will be fine as long as she has someone like you to worry about her. I'm sure she can pull herself together. So all I need to do is be close to her? I don't know about that. There is something you can do, Keiichi. Rika spoke up. I wonder how long she'd been listening to our conversation. What is it? You can listen to her when she wants to talk to someone. Is that all? I just listen and I don't need to make her feel better? Keiichi, people feel better just by talking to someone. Sometimes all they need is someone who does nothing but listen quietly. Just like Mion said, I think it's important for us, as her friends, to be there for her whenever she wants to talk to somebody. Mion and Rika were absolutely right. I was going to pat Reina on her shoulder and tell her to cheer up when I saw her next, but now I know that would have been one-sided on my part. Reina doesn't want to feel down herself. She wants to cheer up if at all possible. If I cheered her up irresponsibly, she'd be very disappointed because she'd think I didn't understand her pain. Every episode, Keiichi gets more and more emotionally mature. Just 2 pounds. Hey, stop pegging at my stupid hands. You're right. I guess I wasn't even trying to understand how she felt. I wanted to cheer up, but I know now that's just what I want to do, not what she wants me to do. Thanks, you two. I think I finally understand. On that day, I thought I cheered her up, but I started to doubt if I'd reached her heart. I might have just been dragging her someplace where I wanted to go. I wasn't on her side in the real sense of the term. All of a sudden, Rika patted my head. Don't worry, we all know that you're on her side. What? What? Did I say something out loud again? It did reach her heart. Keiichi, you really did give her great strength on that day. Well, now that I think about it, what you said on that day was more than a little theatrical. We heard footsteps from the hallway and everybody started to head back to their desks. Take your seats, everyone. Present, if you would. All rise. All rise. All rise. One for the all rise. Every fucking time. We didn't have a club meeting that day because Reina wasn't around. That worked out for me because I had an errand to run. It wasn't a big errand. My mum wanted me to use her point guard to get some detergent. I didn't see the point of going all the way to the store just to get detergent, but Mum told me to go because she's busy helping Dad with his work. I started walking towards the shopping centre. I noticed someone was watching me, hiding behind a distant tree. I wonder who would do such a mischievous thing. I stared at them to find out who it was, at which point they emerged. Oh, Reina. You feeling better now? I was about to say that, but I swallowed the words. Somehow Reina looked very serious. What's going on? Shh. Reina put her index finger to her lips, told me to be quiet, looked around carefully, and beckoned for me to come over. I had no idea what was going on, but I followed her instructions, shut my mouth and ran to her. Reina gestured for me to squat down to hide in the shadows of the bush. I didn't know why I had to do that, but I could ask her the question later. I just followed her orders for now. Reina looked like she was making sure no one was following her. If it was Mion, she'd do something like this just to fool me as a joke, but I know Reina doesn't do things like this for fun. I had no idea what kind of situation I got myself into, but I could feel how tense it was and I made myself as small as I could. Good. It's okay now. I'm sorry. The tone of her voice made me relax a little. Phew, what's going on? I think someone has been following me. What? Who would follow her? When I thought about it, I realised how stupid the question was. Is it the police? Rina Mamiya and Teppei Hojo. 2 people disappeared. Even though they were awful human beings, the police had to investigate if they found out they'd gone missing. Probably wouldn't be difficult to find out that Rina had often been to Reina's house. But it should be okay. As long as they don't find those bags, it should be okay. I don't know if it's the police or not, but I feel like someone's been watching me since the night of Utanagashi. What do you mean? Once I asked that question, Reina stared directly at me with a blank expression. Her eyes looked as though they were evaluating me. She stared at me as if she was assessing whether I was worth talking to about something very important. Reina squeezed her own wrist tightly, then started talking in a whisper. I can tell you what's been going on, but can you keep a secret? Yeah, of course I can. If you want me to keep it a secret, I won't tell anybody. Okay, I trust you. She smiled and looked around one more time. They might be looking for Miss Mio's scrapbooks. Miss Mio? Oh, the nurse, Mr. Kano? What about her scrapbooks? The police are keeping the investigation under wraps, so I'm sure you don't know. Miss Mio Takano was murdered. What? What? When? She told me to be quiet again. I lowered my voice and let her continue. On the night of Utanagashi, we met Miss Mio and Mr. Tomatake, didn't we? They were attacked right after that. Mr. Tomatake was cursed by Oyashiro-sama. He clawed out his throat and died. Ms. Mia was burnt to death in the mountains of the Gifu prefecture. Is that true? I mean, nobody told me about that. I know. That's because the police haven't disclosed their investigation. These cases make the fifth of the series of mysterious deaths, so the police have decided not to go public yet. I see. I understand why the police are keeping quiet about it, but then where did you hear this? Can you keep it a secret? I've been in contact with Mr. Oishi. He's a detective from the Okonomiya Police Department. He told me about the case. Why did he tell you? I don't know. He said he told me because he could trust me. I was dumbfounded to hear all this, but I knew she wasn't lying. If it was Mion, she'd be sticking her tongue out by now, but Reina wouldn't make a joke out of something like this. I think the reason why Ms. Mia was murdered is because of her research. Do you know she was doing ethnological research by studying the history of this village? I've heard something along those lines. Mr. Kano was interested in the occult and mysterious things. I remember Mion once told me that she was studying the village's legends of man-eating demons out of curiosity. I think she discovered a very important secret about this village through her studies, or maybe she wasn't even close to the truth, but they thought she was. Wait a second, what's the secret of this village you're talking about? I just read a few of her scrapbooks, but those were the ones that she was handling with extra caution, so I think there are pretty important things written in them. I think I know about 80% of what Ms. Mia was trying to uncover, but if it's true, it's almost too crazy to believe. Right now, I'm trying to find out whether Ms. Mia's theory is right or not. So what is it? What is the secret of this village? What could be so important that you might get killed just by knowing about it? I gasped the moment those words left my mouth. If Reina told me, I might get killed too. I don't want to tell you yet, but I promise I will once I verify things, because it's really crazy. Too crazy to be true. What do you mean you have to verify things? For example, I myself serve as verification that the maggot disease can occur without any background knowledge, but there are still lots of things I still need to verify. They sound too crazy to be true, and I can hardly believe them if I don't verify that they are. Maggots? I was totally lost now, and I wanted to ask her some questions, but I decided not to cut in. It was so hot outside. But Reina held her arms as if she was cold. Reina, I'm always on your side. You can trust me. Thank you. I really appreciate it. From her expression alone, I could tell that she really meant it. I could also tell that she was involved in something very big, and that she felt lonely because she couldn't tell anyone else about it. I had to be on her side while she was going through a difficult time. You shouldn't tell anybody that you met me here today. They might try to hurt you if they found out. Okay. Isn't there anything I can do to help? Not right now, but it's very reassuring that I can ask you for help when I need it. I'll depend on you someday. Yeah, anytime. Shh! A car is coming! Reina pushed my head into the bush. I went along with it and crouched down even lower in the bushes. We stayed quiet for a while. I could hear a car coming closer, and after a while a white van passed by. I was surprised at her hearing. She heard the car coming when it was still far off in the distance. Did you see his license plate number? What? No, I'm sorry, I didn't. I couldn't either, but I think it's the same car I saw earlier. Are they the ones following you? They're the ones causing the stream to hiccup. I think so. It passed by me many times today on the street, where nobody usually drives. I hear it every time, but it's still strange. Are they the ones? Are they the ones who killed Mr. Kano and Mr. Tomitake? Are they looking for the scrapbooks you have? Most likely, yes. I don't blame her for not being able to believe what's going on, because this is really crazy. Mr. Kano uncovered something really significant through her studies. The people who want the information hidden found out about it, and they killed her on the night of Watanagashi, copying the curse of Oyashiro-sama. They're looking for the scrapbooks, the fruits of her research, and Reina has them. That's why they're trying to kill Reina? What about your house? It's safe there. I hid the scrapbooks in my secret hideout at the garbage dump. I'm worried about my father, but he'll be fine because he really doesn't know anything. It's written on your face, Keiichi. It says, I can't believe it because it sounds too crazy to be true. Am I right? I wanted to deny it, but I felt bad to lie. I remained silent in the affirmative. Well, that's a normal reaction. I couldn't believe any of it when I read the first scrapbook. I finally started seeing the connections after reading all of them. I'm sorry, I do want to help you, but I just don't know how if I don't see the whole picture of what's going on. If I tell you, it might put you in danger. You're already in danger, right? I don't mind, don't worry about me. Okay, I'll tell you then. It's probably the three families who killed Ms. Mio and Mr. Tomitake. To be more specific, it's the Sonozaki family, Mion's family. Why? You know about the series of mysterious deaths, right? Of course. The traitors of the dam conflict die every year, right? The series of mysterious deaths is like a resolution of the dam conflict. They're trying to end the dam conflict in the true sense of the term by erasing people who have betrayed the village. It does look like that in a way. Nobody really says it out loud, but everyone is suspicious that the Sonozaki family is behind it. That's what I've heard. But if they really wanted to erase the traitors, they wouldn't have to do it on the night of Otanagashi. Why don't they kill them all at once instead of killing them one by one, using the curse and demoning them away every year? Wouldn't that make more sense? I've never heard the words demoning away before, but Reina clearly thought they had some kind of creepy, significant meaning, so I decided not to cut in. That means that they're using the series of mysterious deaths in order to resurrect the sacredness of the Watanagashi festival. Step by step, they're reviving the sacred nature of Onegafuchi that was lost in the Meiji era. The goal is to revive the level of belief in Oyashiro-sama that used to exist in primitive times. Belief in Oyashiro-sama? You're talking about the Furude Shrine? Yes. Do you think people revere the Furude Shrine now? Elder people respect the shrine, but that's it. Kids think of it as a place to play, and most of the villagers think of it as a place to gather for local events. Its sacredness has been lost, but with the dam conflict it started to revive, and they took it as a good opportunity to bring back the cult of Oyashiro-sama. So you're saying that some fanatical Oyashiro-sama worshippers are behind all this? That's what I'm saying. The cult of Oyashiro-sama was managed by the three families to begin with. The three families passed down the ultimate goal of reviving the cult of Oyashiro-sama to the present generation. When you think about it, you'll understand why the three families took the initiative of uniting the villagers during the dam conflict, and why they set up the Onegafuchi Guardian's office in the Furude Shrine, citing Oyashiro-sama, who was almost forgotten at the time. So the three families, the fanatical Oyashiro-sama worshippers, orchestrated the series of mysterious deaths of Hino and Azawa. But wait, why would they kill Mr. Kano? Because she discovered the important secret of this village. The three families have been hiding it since the era of Onegafuchi. If that secret is revealed, the sacredness of Oyashiro-sama will be lost. They found out that Ms. Mia was getting close to the secret, and that's why they killed her. What's this important secret? I don't care if I put myself in danger. I need to know. I don't want to tell you yet. I don't want to tell you until I'm 100% sure about it. I'm pretty sure that right now you just laugh. Hey, do you think I'm that kind of guy? I just need a little more time. I can't accept the truth myself because it sounds so impossible. So I need some time. Please. I understand. Don't tell anybody about what we talked about today. Not even Mion, Rika, or Satoko. Okay. Well, you should go now. I'll take a look around for a while before I go home. I can't be too careful anymore. Reina ducked low in the bushes and moved away. I was left alone there. The cries of the cicada surrounded me, making it seem as if I was alone there the whole time. I started walking, still dumbfounded. In the end, Reina didn't tell me the secret because she was afraid of putting me in danger, but she told me clearly that there are people who want to resurrect the cult of Oyashiro-sama, and that they're among the three families that control the entire village. They orchestrated the series of mysterious deaths for that purpose, and they killed Mr. Kano because she got too close to the secret they wanted to hide. Reina met Mr. Kano and happened to obtain the scrapbooks in which Mr. Kano wrote about her research. Reina still can't believe the secret written in scrapbooks because it's just too crazy. Hey, come on, Reina. You're kidding me, right? It's like one of those comic book stories. A mysterious occult group is plotting a conspiracy. It's not funny even if it is a joke. But Reina is right about one thing. Even if this is true, it's really hard to believe. I understand why Reina wanted to wait to tell me the secret. Maybe she was just fooled by Mr. Kano, but Mr. Kano was murdered for real. So is it also true that someone is following Reina looking for the scrapbooks? I remember Reina said that a white van was following her. You can see white vans anywhere. I bet there are lots in this village alone. She might just be oversensitive to everything right now. Reina hasn't recovered from the shock since that day. That's probably why she got the idea into her head that the police or someone else is coming after her. I didn't cut in while she was talking. I think I did the right thing. If I'd said that it was ridiculous or something to her face, Reina wouldn't have trusted me ever again. At that point, however, I gasped. A white van was parked on the side of the street. Dun dun dun! I get so freaked out when I play this game, I keep having to look over my shoulder. It's like properly night now as well. Really? I wasn't sure if this was the same car that passed by earlier, since I didn't see the plate number. But the number of people in the car and the ambience of it was similar to the one earlier. And there's one other thing that looked suspicious about it. There was no reason to park here. It was on a small road in the middle of the woods. There's nothing around here. No traffic lights, no vending machines, and no public phones. I probably would notice it under ordinary circumstances, but I felt something was wrong. And once I noticed how odd it was definitely suspicious. There were 4 men in work uniforms in the white van. The driver was smoking a cigarette, but the other men were just sitting there doing nothing. If they wanted to take a break or have a smoke, they could have chosen a better place than here. It was possible that they stopped because they had to go to the bathroom really badly, but it didn't seem that way either. They didn't look as comfortable or as relaxed like they would if they were taking a break. They looked like they were waiting for something to happen. There was a deep tension in that car. Could they possibly be waiting for Raina? No way. I didn't see anybody walking around here. This road is a back road. Nobody really uses this road, let alone by car, but it's impossible. I felt bad for Raina to even think about it, but this must be something that she got into her head because she's feeling victimized or something. She must be imagining things because she's still nervous from when her friends caught her in the act of killing Raina and Tepe. Hey, young man. I heard someone say that when I passed by the van. He couldn't mean me. He didn't even know who I was, so I assumed he was talking to one of the other people in the car. I pretended I didn't hear him and I kept walking, and then he said it again. Honk! And that happened too. Hey, young man, excuse me. Are you on your way home from school? He had a strong accent similar to that of the older villagers. He must live here, but I didn't know him. I could tell he didn't know me either, because he didn't call me by name. Yes, I am. You've been walking on this road all the way from school, right? You turned the corner where the stationery store is, right? Yeah, so? They were probably lost, I thought. This village has many small turns, and you can easily get lost when you try and take a shortcut. So they must have been waiting for someone to ask for directions. But then he said something disturbing. Young man, didn't you see a girl on the way here? What? A girl with a white hat and white clothes with a purple ribbon on it. Did you see her? They were definitely talking about Raina. No, I didn't. I wasn't ready to hear them ask that. Rather, I was scared. That's why my voice got all shaky. Up until that point, I couldn't believe Raina's story. I thought it was ridiculous. I actually laughed, if only to myself. That's why I wasn't ready at all. My heart was beating fast and I was sweating all over. I immediately answered, no, I didn't, but it might have sounded like an obvious lie. The driver stared into my eyes. He looked like he was trying to figure out if I was lying or not, and my legs started to shake. I felt like a frog under the glare of a snake, and I couldn't move a muscle for a while, but I think the same went for those men too. They were clearly a suspicious group, and they just asked a villager about a girl out of the blue. Anybody would get suspicious, and I was right. The man broke the ice and started making excuses before I even asked him why he wanted to know about the girl. Well, I was asking for no particular reason. We just passed by a girl earlier, but you're a boy, so we were just wondering. Oh, okay. Please forget it. Sorry for the trouble, young man. We're off. The man started the engine and drove away. After they left, I saw nothing. That's right, nothing. There was no reason why they had to park here. So were they really waiting for Raina? Dun, 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 dun. Almost definitely yes, is the answer. Lunch takeout list too. Toot toot. Mystery machine. Lamal. Furthermore, it's important that we closely monitor her father. Since he's also suffered mental shock from the divorce and has been trying hard to take care of the patient, there's a strong possibility that he may develop an induced delusional disorder. As the first step in mental care, one should listen to the patient's story carefully without denying it. That's the most basic of basics. However, when the patient and the listener are related, it's easy for the listener to become deeply influenced by the patient's delusions. Additionally, delusional parasitosis is widely known to make people highly impressionable, and the influence sometimes can spread throughout a whole community. Therefore, even if several people claim to acquire a parasitic infection, it doesn't necessarily prove the existence of a parasite. Some of the phone calls to the healthcare centres for the extermination of pests are nothing but a mass delusion. Since the subject matter of the delusion in this case is extremely rabid, the patients might harm or even kill each other in abnormal ways, believing this to be the treatment for the disease. They might also give up hope and commit suicide together in the worst case. Okay. So, mass delusions, basically. This influential delusional disorder, otherwise known as a shared psychotic disorder, shows a particularly strong possibility of influencing close companions. Anybody who is going to contact the patients must be made to understand that the patients are under medical treatment and must be warned not to be influenced by the patient's delusions. Individuals who are likely to be easily influenced are the patient's family members, and people who care deeply about the patient, such as a boyfriend or girlfriend. Or Keiichi, wink wink. Alright, let's do chapter 8. The achievement for this is Fish in a Pond. I should apologise, Raina. I don't think I believed you. I'm really sorry about that. It's okay, Keiichi. I'm just glad we didn't get caught. Who are they? Are they pawns of those religious fanatics who are trying to revive the cult for Yashiro-sama? I think they don't realise they're pawns, but I'm sure the masterminds are using them as such. Pardon me. They must be the ones who've been pulling strings behind the scenes ever since the dam conflict. I heard that people working for the Sun... I heard that people working for the Sonozaki family did something similar during the dam conflict. I have been at it, but by whomst? Oh, it's for raids. Yes, everyone knows that. Mr. Oishi told me that. He told me that there was a kidnapping incident during the dam conflict. The case hasn't been disclosed to the public. But anyway, someone kidnapped the grandson of the Minister of Construction and coerced the minister into promising to put help to the dam construction. The grandson of the minister was kidnapped? I've never heard that about that before. The minister submitted to their demands and they made a deal behind the scenes. That's why the incident never went public. Mr. Oishi only knows about it because he was in charge of the case. Okay. And? According to Mr. Oishi, between kidnapping the minister's grandson and blackmailing him, the tactics were frighteningly advanced. The police know that the Sonozaki family gave orders to the kidnappers, but the case still remains unsolved. At that time, the head of the Sonozaki family, Oryo, had announced a plan to fight against the dam project by force. She even formed a special attack corps using the Yakuza group that's under the Sonozaki family's command. She was very serious about this plan to put the Ministry of Construction down by brute force if she couldn't stop this construction. Everybody knows that the Sonozaki family had tried to stop the dam project, even if it meant breaking the law. So I wasn't so surprised to hear that she had a dangerous plan like that. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Mion who came up with the idea. The plan sounded just like her. In the end, the plan ended up as nothing more than that, but the Special Attack Corps actually did undergo training, and very high-level training at that. Oishi uncovered the information right after the dam conflict ended. At the time, Oryo even said that if the village was going to be submerged, all members of the Onagafuchi Guardians would choose to stay in their houses and drown. So because Oryo was behind those things, I couldn't just laugh off the idea of an armed assault on the Ministry of Construction. According to the information Oishi seized, she planned a suicide mission as a last resort when the dam conflict started to heat up, in case her resistance wasn't successful. She'd actually obtained weapons and put people through training for the sake of that plan. The Special Attack Corps were flown to America, having received a huge amount of money from Oryo for the operation. In the southern desert of the United States, some retired military soldiers gave them highly professional training. While the plan was never carried out, the Special Attack Corps became a death squad under the direct control of Oryo after they came back from America. They were involved in many unsolved terrorist incidents and succeeded in kidnapping the grandson of the minister as well. Yikey, yikey, yikes! Sounds like it's from a movie or something. Do you remember how Mion said she could do anything from flying helicopters to using wireless radios? It's actually all true. Seems like Mion joined in their training. So that was all true? Well, let's put that aside for now. Anyway, you have to at least believe that the death squad actually exists in Hinamizawa, and that they're capable of kidnapping the grandson of a government minister. I didn't take a close look at the 4 men in the white van today, but thinking about it, they did look professional in a way. Oops. They were pretending to just be taking a break, but I could tell they were tense the whole time. So were they really trying to kill you? I don't think so. If they really wanted to kill me, I'd be dead already. So what do they want? Are they after Mr. Kano's scrapbooks? Like Yusu herself, the group is very cautious. Unless we show them an opening, they won't resort to force. If they were the type to use force outright, they could have attacked me in my sleep. They haven't done that yet, so that must mean they're taking it cautiously. They're probably not sure that I have the scrapbooks. They killed Ms. Mio and tried to dispose of them, but they found out that the most important ones were missing. They thought she gave them to someone because she knew her life was in danger. Now they think I'm the one who has them, but they're not sure, so they can't resort to violence. Reina, it sounds like you're playing a dangerous game. Yeah, I'm a bit scared, but they won't be able to erase me so easily. After all, I'm cooperating with Mr. Oishi. I've been frequently contacting him in case something happens. What did he say about them? He said he'd keep an eye on the Sonozaki family so that he could catch them right away if they were working behind the scenes. Did you tell him about the scrapbooks? No, I didn't. I think you should. He's an officer. I'm sure the police will help you. Keiichi, I can't even tell you the secrets of this village because I'm not sure you would believe me. I don't think Mr. Oishi would believe me if I told him any of this. Reina, let's not make it more confusing than it already is. Just tell me, what is it? What's written in the scrapbooks? What's the secret that killed Ms. Mio? Simply put, if the things written in the scrapbooks are true, the god they worship will be dethroned. Their god? Dethroned? Yeah, the sanctity of Aishiro-sama will be lost. That's why they want to conceal the truth. They want to resurrect people's belief in Aishiro-sama. Reina, can you explain it a little more simply than that? I'm confused. In other words, Aishiro-sama isn't a god. He isn't? I had no idea when she read that made her so certain, but whatever it was, it'd be sacrilegious for people who believe so strongly in Aishiro-sama. There are many teachings of Oyashiro-sama, but the essence is as follows. Don't leave the village and don't let anybody into the village. One could even say that the rest of his teachings were developed to maintain those two fundamentals. It really wasn't until later on that they added aspects like love your neighbour or viewing him as a god of marriage and domestic prosperity. In other words, Oyashiro-sama existed solely to stop the villagers from going outside the village. Oyashiro-sama doesn't bless the villagers or protect them from disasters. The people believe that Oyashiro-sama does all that for them, but the truth is that the people abuse his name for that purpose, generation after generation, and nothing more than that. Why did Oyashiro-sama descend in the first place? Because demons came out of Onegafuchi Swamp and attacked people. In fact, that was the wrong interpretation. Demons didn't come out of the swamp and attack people. People became demons and attacked others when they were possessed by whatever came out of the swamp. Whatever came out of the swamp? What do you mean by that? Whatever came out of the swamp possessed people, crawled into their blood, controlled them and turned them into demons. People had no resistance against whatever it was that came out of the swamp. They became demons, attacked the other villagers and turned them into demons as well. That's right. It was a weird infectious disease that broke out from the swamp. It made the infected people go out of control. I still find this so fucked up and terrifying. The villagers saw this disaster and explained it like so. Evil demons came out from the bottom of the swamp, possessed people and turned them into demons as well. That is the truth of the story of the demons that came out of Onegafuchi Swamp. Actually explains the legend. So was Oyashiro-sama a doctor who came from a foreign country? Yes, that's not exactly correct, but he was something like that. He came to Onegafuchi and he treated the infectious disease, but he couldn't cure it for good. All his treatment could do was reduce the symptoms of the infection. Villagers could have their symptoms suppressed, but there was no way to kill the parasites that had infested them. After a while, the village was divided into two groups. One group was made up of the people who were already infected, and the other consisted of people who weren't. Without a cure for the disease, the uninfected looked down on the people who could only suppress their violent symptoms. They even talked about drowning them in the swamp. But they knew killing the infected people wouldn't solve the problem. The parasites came out of their water sources, including Onegafuchi Swamp. They couldn't fill them all in, for if they did that, they'd lose their access to drinking water. They could have chosen to leave the village, but that was hard for them, for that was the location of their ancestors' graves. Under the power of Oyashiro-sama, infected people could live without showing symptoms. So both those who were infected and those who weren't decided to live together equally and to coexist with the parasite. Oyashiro-sama was impressed by the villagers' decision. He decided to stay there and continue to treat them. That's the true identity of Oyashiro-sama, the benefactor who stayed in the village to protect the lives of both human and demon. Makes sense to me. This is sort of what I thought, is that it was a sort of mass delusion, and whether or not a demon and a curse and God actually existed, people believed it did, and so they were acting under the belief that it did. That's my suspicion. That's right. And Oyashiro-sama made rules in order to ensure the symptoms of the infected people would remain suppressed. The rules were never to leave the village and to never let anyone into the village. I understand why he didn't want to let anyone new into the village. It was to prevent the parasite from infecting anyone else. But I don't understand why he didn't want people to leave. Seems like the parasite can only live in Hinamizawa because of the climate here. It causes an outbreak of the symptoms in order to prevent the host from leaving the village when they try. That reaction is the truth behind the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The strongest symptoms of the infectious disease were violence and delirium. The infected people acted just like demons, and the impact of seeing them in the throes of the disease was strong enough to make others describe them as such. They couldn't even let people leave who had just come to the village. I'm going to do some quick maths, real quick, so bear with me. So we are on chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're on chapter 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we've got 4 more to do, plus the ending, so it might be another 2 streams. If they'd left after being infected, they might get crazy in a faraway land, turn into a vicious demon and cause a disaster. Infected people were never allowed to leave. When an infected person left the village, they brought him back by any means necessary. That was what it really meant to be demoned away. Wait a second, Rainer. That means everyone in this village, including you and I, are infected. But nothing happens when we live in Hinamizawa. In fact, many villagers move far away after getting married or something. I've never heard of any villagers who went crazy and turned into demons after they left Hinamizawa. You're right, that's because things went as Oyashiro-sama thought they would. Do you understand? He isolated the village for a long time in order to weaken the power of the parasite. Hosts are very important for parasites. If something happens to the host, the parasites that live in the host have to share the same fate. In other words, if the host went crazy and attacked people, the host would be captured and killed, which means the parasites would die with the host too. I see. You're talking about natural selection. Good thinking, Keiichi. That's exactly right. As a result of living in this village under such strict rules for a long time, people who were hypersensitive to the parasite went crazy and got killed. The strong parasites that made the infected people go crazy were also killed off due to the host's violent behaviours. As a result, only the parasites that acted nicely people lived on. And that's the explanation behind the mix of human and demon blood that's written in the legend of Oyashiro-sama. So that means the parasite is almost harmless by now. Yes, according to Ms. Mia's scrapbooks, there are actually many people who are affected by harmless parasites. It depends on local food culture. For example, about 80% of the people who live in a country where meat is a staple food are infected by parasites. But because the parasites coexist with humans without doing any harm to them, nobody notices them, treats them, or tries to get rid of them. I see. In olden times, Watanagashi was called Harawata Nagashi, Harawata meaning guts, so that the people back then used to eat the guts of infected people who went crazy. Sounds awful, but it was something they had to do. Eating the infected people. You talking about a vaccine? You're very smart, Keiichi. Ms. Mia also interpreted it just like you did. In the legend, it says people cut open and ate the infected ones alive, but it actually wasn't anything gross like that. They did it in a scientific way. They created a vaccine from the infected people who died from the extremely strong parasites, and that helped the uninfected villagers boost their immune system. Who was Oyashiro-sama? A scientist? He must have been from a very advanced country. Was he German? Is the true identity of Oyashiro-sama a foreign doctor who survived a shipwreck? I think that'd be the most likely answer. He wasn't German, but he was a doctor of some sort. It's kind of interesting to reveal the truth behind old legends. I don't think that Reina's story is too crazy to be true anymore. Still sounds crazy, of course, but I've never heard any theories explain the legend of this village better than this one. I'm infected by the parasite too, right? You're literally all over now. Our personal-like universe. We have countless numbers of bacteria in our bodies. Some of those bacteria are essential to us staying alive. Like bacteria in yogurt, right? I see. This is also what Ms. Mia wrote in her scrapbooks. You know termites, right? They eat wood, but they actually can't digest it themselves. They have unique bacteria that decomposes the wood fibres. As a result, termites can absorb what they eat. That's just one example of a species coexisting with parasites. I didn't know that. When I heard the word parasites, I felt creeped out almost instinctively. But now I know some of them aren't too bad to us. So the weird infectious disease that broke out from Onigofuji Swamp has been exterminated by now. Well, I shouldn't say exterminated. I should say it's harmless now. I thought it was a crazy story at first, but now I feel like I just saw the trick behind some crazy kind of magic. It's interesting. It is to us, but for the cult of Oyashiro-sama, this must be a very annoying theory. Of course, if Mr. Kano's theory is correct, Oyashiro-sama isn't a god, and the punishment by that god, namely the curse of Oyashiro-sama that people have been so afraid of, will turn out to have just been the symptoms of an infectious disease. I see. That's what dethroning God would mean. Attack and dethrone God. So if the pathogen of this infectious disease was identified and announced to the public, the power of Oyashiro-sama would be completely lost. That's right. That's what they're afraid of. Ms. Mia was going to identify the pathogen, and for that she was killed. So that must mean she identified it. Maybe she did, but she's gone and she didn't say anything about that in her scrapbooks. That's the only reason I can think of, though. But it's the end of the 20th century. I'm sure the villages have been examined by lots of different medical institutions by now, right? I've never heard about anyone discovering a weird parasite like that. I know, it's true that the pathogen hasn't been found yet, but in fact there's evidence that there is some kind of parasite involved. What? Really? When a parasite enters a human body, that body's immune system cells, eosinophils and macrophages, try to kill the parasite. They secrete an antibody called immunoglobulin E, Icky. The most common way of checking if a person is affected by a pathogen is to look at the levels of the secretion. According to Kano's research, people from Hinamizawa have a very high level of Icky in their blood. That's not all. They also have obvious symptoms of being infected by parasites. They don't have any allergies. Icky stimulates mast cells, and they secrete histamines and serotonin as a result. These cause an allergic reaction. That allergic reaction isn't pleasant for humans, but it's necessary for the body to kill the pathogen. But the parasites don't want to be killed, of course, so they secrete substances that counteract Icky. As a result, Icky stops stimulating the receptors of the mast cells, which stops secreting the chemical compounds. As a result, the antigen-antibody reaction, namely the allergic reaction, doesn't occur. In other words, a human body that was infected by a parasite secretes high levels of Icky, but doesn't display allergic reactions. For your information, a human body that's infected by a parasite doesn't suffer from hay fever. You get hay fever due to your body secreting a large amount of Icky because it's mistaking pollen for a parasitic invasion. As a result, a large amount of stimulants like histamine will be secreted, but your body can't contain the parasite that it's attempting to kill. That's why your body continues to secrete Icky. As a result, the stimulants keep causing allergic reactions. That's how hay fever works. If you have a parasite in your body, it will deactivate your Icky and suppress the secretion of stimulants. Maybe that's why I only get allergic reactions to very specific things, like the adhesive that you use in non-latex bandages. As a result, you don't have an allergic reaction. In other words, there's no hay fever in Hinamizawa, and you can cure your hay fever by moving here. So we haven't been able to identify the pathogen, but there's no question about its existence. Yes, that's right. If that's true, the scrapbooks are a big threat to the believers in Oyashiro-sama. They don't identify the pathogen, but they clearly prove its existence. Yeah, it poses a big enough danger to them to make them think it's worth killing Ms. Mio. This really is a scary secret. I believe it because you took the time to explain it to me, but if you'd skipped the details and told me only the conclusion, it really would have sounded too crazy to believe. I told you, I couldn't believe it at first either, so I thought you definitely wouldn't. So what's important right now is it's a dangerous organisation acting in the shadows to try and cover up the truth, right? Yeah, that's the most important thing. The fanatics who want to revive the sanctity of the god they worship. Reviving the majesty of their god means reviving the power of that god, and the power of their god is the infectious disease. This infectious disease can't spread nationwide, unlike other infectious diseases. So from now on, I'm going to start calling it an endemic disease. That fits better, since it only affects this region. Anyway, the endemic disease of current-day Hinamizawa is different from the one of old times. It's been through a process of natural selection, and it's harmless now. In other words, it doesn't do any harm to human bodies. The harm was once interpreted as a curse. A curse is the power of a god. So a harmless endemic disease means that the god is powerless. I suppose the drug that that they use to poison people is like a highly concentrated version of this, I suppose. That means the only way to regain the majesty of that god is to revive the curse. In other words, they want to bring back the primitive endemic disease, namely the harmful strong version of the parasite. Okay. Wait a second. These fanatics want to deny the fact that the god was actually a parasite, but you're saying they're researching the parasite. That's contradictory, isn't it? I know it is. I think this research is a secret that only the head of the fanatics is aware of. From the outside, they look like they're praising their god, but they actually understand its true identity, and they're trying to revive its supernatural power with their own hands. I get it now. Oh my god, this is getting crazier and crazier. Didn't say in the scrapbooks, but I'm suspicious of the clinic the manager owns. The Irie clinic? Why? The facility is too big and fancy for Hinamizawa. Ms. Mio was working there. The manager might be a bacteriologist the Sonozaki family recruited. Can't be. I think Ms. Mio was honoured because she knew too much. The reason why the manager hasn't been murdered yet is because he's working for the fanatics in the first place. And he's researching the primitive form of the endemic disease. Oh, it's hard to believe that the coach we know is capable of doing things like that. I'm sorry, he might be totally irrelevant. It's just a wild guess, but someone is doing the research somewhere, that much is certain. And after 5 years, the research has finally been completed. The first case was a dismemberment murder by the Down Construction murders. The coroner turned into a lynching. They might have had the primitive infectious disease, and the symptoms, the aggression and delirium, might have kicked in. The victims of the second year were Stoko's parents. But there were no witnesses, so the whole event is veiled in mystery. But there's a theory that someone might push them over the cliff, since the fence of the observation deck that they fell from was quite sturdy. What if one of them was infected by the primitive parasite? They might have become violent and pushed the other over the cliff. The Shinto priest died from a disease, and his wife drowned herself in the third year. He might have died of shock because of a hypersensitive reaction to the infection. His wife might have gone crazy and committed suicide when one of the symptoms, delirium, kicked in. In the fourth year, Satoshi Hojo's aunt was beaten to death, probably by Satoshi himself. Everybody who knew Satoshi remembers how he changed at that time. He showed signs of being both aggressive and delirious. In the fifth year, for the first time in 5 years, the victim experienced the maggot disease described in the old scroll of the Furude Shrine. The reason behind that is unclear, but the strong primitive parasite could have given its victim a delusion of maggots. This means that they finally managed to duplicate the curse of Oyashiro-sama after 5 years of research. Mr. Tomitake is a victim of the fifth year. He died in an extremely abnormal way, and I'm the only one who understands his death because I experienced the same thing. He kept clawing at his throat to get rid of the maggots and died as a result. With all that explained, I finally understood the maggot disease I experienced in Higurashi. I left Hinamizawa, and it made the parasite in me uncomfortable. As a result, it tried to resist, even though it wasn't very strong, and it tried to make me homesick. But with my parents' divorce, I grew mentally unbalanced, and I completely lost the power to resist for a period of time. The parasite was weak and harmless, but my mental instability allowed it to worsen my symptoms drastically. Oof. As a result, I went crazy and became violent. The delusion of Oyashiro-sama appearing to me in the bathroom was probably the terminal phase of my delirium. I created the supernatural existence, Oyashiro-sama, that I was instilled with when I was little. Then I persuaded myself to go back to Hinamizawa, based on that delusion. Some of the transcendents of Onigafuchi must have had the same kind of experience. They must have passed their experiences down as acts of God. I remember I once saw on TV that the indigenous peoples in South America used some kind of natural drug in order to have a mystical experience, and that they called it a ritual to communicate with their gods. So what the fanatics are trying to do is to spread the primitive parasites around Hanamizawa. I think that's their goal, but I don't think they'll do that without letting people know about it. Religions need ceremonies, so if they created what they wanted to create and decided to spread it, I think they'd name it the day of Oyashiro-sama's revival or something, and they'd perform some kind of ceremony. It would be in celebration of the revival of Oyashiro-sama. That's a bad thing, isn't it? I think you can say that, because they're trying to spread a very dangerous pathogen. Hey, isn't that bioterrorism? Jeez, this is very bad. They used it on Mr. Tomitake, confirming they succeeded in duplicating the curse of Oyashiro-sama, so that day of revival might be really soon. I wonder if that's what the events at the end of Book 3 were. If it was a sort of deliberate infection of people. I don't know. It could happen in a few days, or it might take a year. Oh, this is way out of your league, Raina. This is a very serious conspiracy. There's nothing we can alone do to stop them. We have to report it to the police. Do you think they'll believe us? It's their choice whether to believe us or not. No matter what, we have to tell them. Keiichi, telling Mr. Oishi about this all means telling him that I have the scrapbooks. Do you think that would be a problem? Mr. Oishi came to me after Ms. Mio was murdered. When they killed Ms. Mio, they found out her scrapbooks were missing. They also know that she met me at the library a few days ago. No way. You mean... Yes, Mr. Oishi could be one of them. It's possible that Mr. Oishi thinks I have the scrapbooks and he might be trying to find out. In fact, he looked very suspicious and it seemed to me that he didn't really tell me everything he knew. He only told me things to make me suspicious of the Sonozaki family. He could have been just trying to look like he was on my side and that he's actually their minion. But the police are our only hope. Keiichi, you know about the case of the fourth year, don't you? Satoko's aunt was murdered. I believe Satoshi did it, but the police fingered a drug addict as the murderer. What do you think about that? Some of the fanatics are with the police, and they fabricated the murderer? It's the same with the autopsy of the Shinto priest, whom they claim died from a disease, and the inspection of the accident site where the Hojo couple died. If the police are on their side, it opens the door to many perfect crimes. The three families have been maintaining pressure on the police since the dam conflict. You've heard from Mion that they also have considerable power over many organizations in Okonomiya, right? Yeah, I have. It's not only Mion who told me that. Many people did. They told me the Sonozaki family holds influence over the whole city. That's right. You can't necessarily trust the police around here. Reina, please. I want to make one thing clear before we go on. Are the Sonozaki family the masterminds behind all this? Does that mean Mion is involved too? Please, tell me. I don't know if Mion or Rika are directly involved or not. All I can say for sure is that the fanatics have the power to control the nerve centers of all the three families, including the most powerful family of all, the Sonozakis. I'm not sure if the fanatics are controlling the three families, or if the three families are the fanatics themselves. As long as we're not sure about their involvement, it's better for us to be extra careful around them. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I'm not saying that I don't trust Mion. She's usually very reliable and I'd ask for her help with any problems, but not this one. This one is a little different. I don't know if you've seen it before, but although Mion jokes around when she's with us, she can be a very cold person when she's acting as the successor of the Sonozaki family. Plus, even if she wasn't involved, we'd put her in danger if we told her about this. If she was on our side, that'd be really encouraging. I think we should tell her. No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't tell her until we confirm she's not one of them. Sure, it'd be great if we could pull her to our side, but what if we couldn't? So, how are we going to fight against them? Well, this is a battle we don't stand a chance of winning to begin with. That's why I didn't want to get you involved. Damn it. Mr. Kana left us a big parting gift, didn't she? But because of that, we know about the conspiracy. I believe this is her will. Two kids challenging the mastermind who controls the village? This is going to be tough. Ordinary methods won't work. But, Keiichi, I'm glad to have you on my side. We can talk about it and plan things together. Of course. I've always been on your side and on your friend. I know. Thank you. You're very reassuring. Two heads are better than one. Yeah, I agree. We can come up with a plan for how we're going to fight against them together. I skipped school today because I wanted some time to read the scrapbooks again, but I'm going to school again tomorrow and I'm going to act normal. They might say something is wrong with me if I act different. You should do the same, Keiichi. Please be careful with Mion. She's sometimes very perceptive. Okay, I'll act normal as if I know nothing. But damn, I'm a bit scared. Huge conspiracy is right around the corner and might already be counting down to 0. It's hard to act normal knowing that. I don't think it's going to happen very soon. Like I said earlier, if they really are religious fanatics, they need a religious ceremony. They need the help of the whole village to hold something like that. I can't think of any event other than Watanagashi. So you're saying we have time at least until the next Watanagashi festival? I can't promise, but I just can't think of any event other than that. Me too, TBH, to be honest. I think we have a year at least, but I also feel like we don't because of how they killed Miss Mio. I might not know, but there might be a bigger religious event than Higurashi. It might not be long until that day. On the day of Oyashiro-sama's revival, they're going to spread a dangerous parasite, and that day might be just around the corner. Reina, are you still on the phone? Wrap it up soon. It's getting late. My father stuck his head out from the living room, telling me I needed to hang up soon. I thought about telling him so many times. It's natural to think that your parents will be on your side no matter what, but I know just how weak he can get, so I couldn't tell him. I don't think he'd believe me anyway. Even if I told him, he'd just tell me to call the police. It's better that I don't tell him. That they might get close to my father to get close to me. If he didn't know anything about anything, including scrapbooks, there'd be nothing to squeeze out of him to begin with. I'm sorry, Keiichi. I have to go now. It's getting late. I'll see you at school. Okay, see you tomorrow. Be careful, okay? You're not an outsider anymore. Yeah, I'll be careful. I remember the suspicious men in the white van and felt a chill run down my spine. They looked like villagers, but they weren't. They had the village accent, but they were just pretending. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious they became. It let me know that Reina and I aren't safe. If Reina is right, they're just suspicious of her and they're not sure if she has scrapbooks or not. But it's still creepy. Reina probably experienced the same creepiness I felt when I saw the van several times up until now. She must sense the danger more than I do. However, the fact that they weren't attacking, that they were merely observing us, was disturbing. If they attacked her, she could have done something, like going to the police. But all they're doing is just watching her from a distance. She can't do anything about it. She can't talk to anybody about it. She probably just wants to stay in her house all day. But if she acted differently, they might take it as proof that she has the scrapbooks. We have to think about how to fight against them without making it obvious. I told myself that there was no going back and I put the phone down. Okay, folks. I am absolutely exhausted. I'm really flagging and I really genuinely don't have the energy to go on with another finishing this chapter. So we are going to end things off here. Don't worry, Lynn, I am going to go pass right the fuck out. I will be streaming Nier Automata on Saturday. We're going to be going back into the city to take on this next Goliath and see where we go next. Then on Sunday it'll be Destiny 2. I imagine it's going to be a Solstice day. I'm going to try and get loads of the Solstice stuff done and just get that out of the way. So that's my plan, is to work on that. Then next Tuesday it'll be Final Fantasy XIV, where we shall be continuing 5.3 on Ashard. When we left off, we were just about to go meet everybody in Gilmore and can find our way back to the Crystarium, so that's intriguing. And then next Thursday it will be my last day at work, which is crazy, and it will also be probably the penultimate stream of Higurashi When They Cry Tsumihoroboshi, where we'll continue going further down the rabbit hole. So take care, everybody, have a wonderful evening, do look after yourselves, be excellent to each other. Hugs to you both, Lynn and Eris. I'm gonna go to bed now. Good night.